NAS Continental Calendar, March 4th, 1424. The flames of the Great Stallion War are burning across the NAS continent. The entire land is engulfed in fire, and countless lives have been reduced to ashes. No one can stop the Demon Legion led by the Demon King. In a land left with nothing but despair, a warrior has emerged to stand against the darkness. That's pretty much the premise of the game. Paradise, a virtual reality RPG where players become warriors to fight demons, become lords, and develop their own territories. That is where our protagonist is. He spent all his spare time in Paradise after his long shifts at work. He would manipulate game glitches, raid dungeons, farm items, and so on. As an old-school player who memorized every bit of knowledge, he never lost his title as the #1 power player, a master trader who had spent 15 years in Paradise. He couldn't handle it anymore. He regressed. He actually regressed back to reality. Jad gasped in shock. He was 34 years old and had never even been on a date. Is this really how I die? He sat up in a panic. Seeing this, Hazel rushed over and asked, "Are you having a nightmare, my lord?" Actually, as he scanned the room, everything he saw felt incredibly strange. Confused, he asked, "Excuse me, who are you? Where am I?" They stared at each other, completely baffled. A moment later, the system displayed a flood of information about Jad. He looked at his obese reflection in the mirror. Feeling hopeless, his mind spinning, he realized this skill was absolute garbage. Gaining weight would reduce his lifespan by 25 years. He collapsed into his chair, telling himself he had to stay calm. He started thinking, "My name is Shin Tai Peng, but that's a story from my past life. I died from overwork and reincarnated into the body of this fat lord. Damn, the name is Jad. When I saw the game's UI and the power dynamics of the NAS continent, I knew for sure I was in Paradise. NAS calendar, January 1st, 1414. The trivia territory is just a tiny, insignificant area. The thought alone made him break into a cold sweat. If this isn't just a game but reality, then this life is about to end soon. How could this be? It's currently the year 1414. In 10 years, 1424, the Great War will break out. But 5 years from now, in 1418, volcanic eruptions, massive earthquakes, and a catastrophic plague will trigger the Great War. People will tear each other apart for food. If the Great War breaks out, every nation and territory on the continent will be dragged into the fighting. Jad burst into tears. A lord with a territory like mine, that would be amazing. The next second, he shouted in frustration, "But a character with a body like this? How am I supposed to master the Encyclopedia of Paradise? If I were in a novel, I'd be born as a handsome, amazing man and live a happy life. Why did it have to be me?" Suddenly, the chair collapsed under his weight, and he slammed his head against the floor in pain. He wished desperately that if Jad could go back to his younger years, he would have been handsome too. He pushed himself up, trying to comfort himself. "No, there's still hope. I just need to lose weight. I still have the memories from my past life. There are so many bugs in this world I can exploit. The advantage of having knowledge that no one else has, I can use it to gain the upper hand in the future. I'll surpass everyone by using glitches they don't even know exist." Jad was suddenly burning with determination. "This is how I will become the strongest warrior on the NAS continent and the king who unites the world. That will be my goal." The scene shifts to the study where Hazel's voice is humming. She was happily doing her work. "Let's tidy everything up so the Lord can use the office comfortably today." It's been a while since I came here, but the quiet atmosphere was suddenly interrupted by a thundering sound, as if an earthquake were approaching. It was Jad. He burst through the door calling her name. Hazel looked at him in confusion. Without a word, Jad rushed in and started ransacking everything. Not here either." Watching the scene unfold, Hazel asked in shock, "My lord, what are you looking for?" He replied while huffing, "The heirloom my father left me when he passed away. How could I have been so careless with such an important item?" Hazel nonchalantly pulled out a necklace and said, "If this is it, then it's right here. That's where I just looked." Jad cheered and ran over. "The scent of my mother. Thank goodness. Thank you for finding it for me." Upon receiving his gratitude, Hazel's eyes lit up. "I'm so glad I could help you, my lord. Is there anything else I can do for you?" Suddenly, he coldly commanded, "Leave for a moment." Before she could even process it, the study door was shut. Hazel stood outside, feeling very suspicious. The Lord is a bit different from before, she thought, but quickly brushed it off. He looks full of energy now, she thought, skipping away. I should follow his lead and work hard too. Back in the study, Jad was focusing intensely. This is my father's heirloom. Barrett is a high-level artifact that was passed down, capable of boosting magic power growth. Now, I'm planning to break it. The artifact immediately emitted a strange glow. Jad's only advantage is that he's a level 4 mage. However, with his current strength, he can't summon her. Now, he would sacrifice the artifact. This is to ensure my success. It's the only way. He kept telling himself, there's no other way to increase my power. Father, I believe you will understand. Then, he was swept into a strange vortex. The next second, a terrifying demon appeared before him. A dark, booming voice echoed, "Which foolish human has summoned me?" Seeing this, he thought to himself, it's showtime. It could only be summoned once in a lifetime, and it was the demon, Isabella. She looked at him and asked, "Is it you, you foolish human? What prompted you to summon me?" At that moment, a glimmer of hope sparked. "That's right, Isabella. You are the foundation for me to become the best. Don't be afraid." Demon Isabella loses interest in cowards. If you let Isabella return now, you won't get another chance. With a determined gaze, he ran toward her. "I want eyes that can see through anyone's mind." He shouted again, "I want eyes that can see through anyone's mind." She burst into a wild, delighted laugh. "See through? You certainly have ambition. You want to see through the minds of others, don't you?" Within this body, he nodded. That's right. It was a hidden skill one could obtain in Paradiseo. Insight. A landscape visible only to the eyes of the one who wields it. Insight is a skill that can scan a target's tendencies and stats. Its effectiveness depends on the user's ability and level of mastery. He, the one who summoned Isabella, intended to use this power to manage his territory. "Searching for promising people," she said, raising a finger. "That'll work." Instead, she stared at him with a terrifying, wide-eyed look. "What is the most important thing to you?" she added, "but everything comes with a price." A scroll appeared before him, making him go pale. Isabella grabbed the scroll, opened it, and pointed at it. "Wake up. I will grant you insight, but in return, I will take away what is most important to you." Isabella grabbed him by his shirt and lifted him up. "If it's money, it will be taken away. If it's fame, you'll be turned into a slave. If it's family, I'll have a delicious meal." He looked at her in terror, thinking, Isabella has taken the memory I was just thinking of. This was the demon's curse, and he had no choice but to follow it. A bright smile spread across his face, but suddenly Isabella's mouth puckered up. She felt an irritation in her throat. "What is this? What's wrong with my lips?" Floating in the air, he smiled cunningly. "I kept thinking about what I valued most. It was simple once I knew the conditions of your contract." He acted with confidence. "It's hard to keep one's thoughts focused." He pointed forward. "For the past 34 years I have saved my first kiss." She writhed on the ground. Her nails tore into the wall. "No, I don't like this. What kind of lunatic thinks about his first kiss?" He was hoisted up, but he looked thrilled. "Even if my first kiss is with a demon, so be it." "Oh Lord," he tore off the shirt covering his flabby chest. "Long live the Han Palace. The eternal contract with Isabella is complete." Back in reality, two maids were chatting. "Have you noticed something strange lately? The Lord hasn't left his room in months, and now he's wandering all over the place. Usually, he's someone who's sick of dull and troublesome routines." Footsteps approached, and another maid hurried over. "That's right. He only seemed alive when he saw food. Just now, he went to the basement where no one ever goes." The girl with blue hair heard it all. "Why would he go there?" Hayes carried a stack of papers past them, looking flustered. "Sorry, let me through." She ran as fast as she could, and Jen asked, "Hayes, can I help you with something?" She replied, "It's okay, I can handle it." Rose sighed. She really is an energetic girl, always getting scolded and yelled at by the Lord. Jen rubbed her face. How pitiful. Hayes opened the door with a tall stack of papers. "My lord, I have brought the documents for the territory." "And your personal documents." He raised his hand to stop her. "Wait, stand right there." He used his insight and looked at Hayes, feeling slightly confused. "Look up. Loyalty, A rank. And you have many special personality traits, don't you? Truly special. Compared to being a maid, I must train Hayes to become a helper. She has an unrequited love. A rank. That means she's been longing for someone for 15 years. I'm sorry, to the one you love. I will be very busy with my work, so I won't be able to date you comfortably. Hayes asked, looking slightly frightened. What was that, my lord? He bluntly held out his hand. No, give me the documents. He flipped through the pages. Standing beside him, the maid Hayes trembled in fear. A small voice escaped her. My lord, I apologize. He looked dazed. Suddenly, what are you apologizing for? She didn't dare look up. But every time something like this happens, I have to work seriously. Jen stared at them, the tension growing. Her hands shook uncontrollably. He recalled painful memories. She had been physically abused by him, but still had to force a smile. He looked at her. I just remembered Jade's memories. He was a total scumbag. Most tasks were dumped on Hayes, and if any trouble arose, he would fly into a rage. His large shadow loomed closer. Even though it wasn't my doing, Hayes. A large hand was raised, and Hayes grimaced, bracing for impact as always. But this time, Jade cried and hugged her. I'm sorry, Hayes. He hugged her so tightly it was almost uncomfortable. I'm sorry for everything I've done to you. You must be so tired, aren't you? Thank you for staying by my side without complaining and for trusting me. From now on, I won't let you see my pathetic side ever again. Things are going to change a lot from now on. So I will try my best to become a good lord. He gave her a goofy smile. Can you trust me one last time? Hayes collapsed into his arms. My lord, I'm sorry. Hayes cried until her nose was running on his shirt. She was moved to tears. She hugged him tight. I will stay by your side for the rest of my life. Getting girls is easy. He felt happy. Thank you for forgiving me. She was crying and laughing at the same time. He sank into thought again. Now I am Jade, so I will carry all the sins Jade has committed. A long dining table appeared. Hayes trembled. My lord, I don't think these are the things you asked for. At that moment, Jade ravenously devoured the green vegetables. She reminded him, these are just vegetables. How can you stand eating nothing but vegetables? He shoved the greens into his mouth and chewed noisily. That was the only way to lose weight. In the game Paradiseo, there are plants that have a negative effect on satiety, depending on how you look at it. These plants are effective for weight loss, but they taste like crap, so no one eats them. He felt like he was tasting spoiled milk and burnt soybean paste. It was like rotting cheese stuck to an armpit. The effect of eating these greens can accelerate fat decomposition, and consuming asparagus leaves triggers a sensation of enhanced digestion. Consuming double the normal calories, a powerful stimulus was activated, and 450 grams of fat were immediately broken down and expelled. He touched his round, chubby belly. It would definitely help him lose weight little by little, but then Ragas clutched his mouth, needing to throw up immediately. A plate of meat was brought in. My lord, please eat this. I prepared bean meat just in case, Hayes whispered. I learned it from the chef for the former lord's health. He used to walk away without eating every time, but I'm sure you'll eat it now. Tears of emotion streamed down Jiang's face. He cursed himself internally. Jiang, you trash, bothering an angel like this. It was even better than he expected, as expected of a top-tier chef. He felt the rotten taste in his mouth being cleansed. He skewered a piece of meat. All right, let's begin. Jiang ate the delicious pieces. After reading the territory's documents, he realized his land was in the far north. He barely remembered what kind of territory it was. It was a cold region, so agriculture wasn't developed. It was a barren Grade F territory plagued by pests, insects, and bandits. However, the advantage was that the land was so barren that it was the perfect location for the honey event. More and more, he had finished the plate of meat. The problem was he was too weak to take advantage of this. He was determined to get up from the dining table. First, he had been given a second chance at life. Isabella screamed, "Give it to me!" He spat water from his mouth, frantically calling out for Isabella. She stuck out her tongue. He asked why she was still here. She said, "Daring to tease me, huh? I will follow you for the rest of your life until you die and I get it back." Seeing through everything wouldn't be that easy. Flashback to 15 years ago, there was a knock at the door. The Lord opened it. "Please, open the door for me," Lakit urged from outside. "It is truly a pity about the Master's passing, but you must now let go of the past and think about the future. Let me help you through this difficult time. Inside a dark room, Jen sat curled up on the floor. The voice outside continued. My lord. He sat there, crying in fear, calling out, Father! The scene shifted back to the Lord's mansion. Why did you summon us all of a sudden? Raga said, completely drunk. A New Year's party? He continued to chug more alcohol and looked at the two maids on duty. He stepped closer, exhaling the scent of alcohol, and hugged Rose and Hayes. Good morning, Hayes. She was slightly uncomfortable but tried to remain composed. Good morning, Lord Ragas. He laughed. All right. I'm so glad you greeted me. His face looked terrifying as he watched her. Ragas thought, I don't understand why a beauty like that. I would like that damn pig. One day, I will make her mine. A voice called out, Ragas, what are you doing? Lockett stepped forward sternly. I have told you many times not to harass the women. Why are you acting so childish? Do you think that is appropriate behavior for a lord's knight? Hayes looked as if she had found a savior. Happy. Sir, Lockett. Meanwhile, Ragas looked terrified, pale as a ghost. He stuttered, Sir, Lockett. Then his face turned into a hateful, grimacing mask. You think you have the right to lecture me? The head of the city's security force? It seems you still don't know your place, even after being scolded by the Lord. Lockett's face tightened in anger. He gritted his teeth. Say that again? Ragas stepped closer and stuck out his tongue in defiance. What's wrong, old man? Are you deaf? Oren spoke up. Both of you, stop it. It's almost time for the Lord to arrive, Lockett called out. Lord Oren. Ragas just clicked his tongue and turned away. He cursed under his breath, just loud enough for the two to hear. Can't believe a toothless dog and a retired old man are still allowed to step foot in here. It's a disgrace to the honor of this place. He challenged him. Are you sure about that? How can someone with that personality manage the security team? Oren sadly held him back. I understand how you feel, but it's not easy to change things. Let's go inside. All the high-ranking officials were sitting at the long table. They picked up the paper, wondering, what is this? The old man whispered, I can't believe he requested a meeting. Ragas was carefully examining the papers. The whispering continued. Is he really reading those documents? And he looks thinner. Is the rumor about the Lord changing true? Meanwhile, Gragas kept guzzling wine. He slammed his bottle down on the table defiantly. My lord, why are you sitting there reading those reports? It doesn't suit you at all, he ordered. Finish up this meeting quickly so you can go drink with me. He kept rambling on. I've acquired some rare vintage this time. You're bound to be satisfied with it. The Lord gripped the paper in his hand, touched his chin, and muttered, Wine, you say? Tipsy as he was, Gragas added, Right, and I'll call in some beautiful girls to join us. Lockett thought to himself, whenever there's an emergency meeting, he always seduces the Lord and makes him lazy. The Lord stood up and clenched his fist. No matter what happens, I have to stop him this time, for the glory of Cribia. Suddenly, the Lord's voice boomed out. He pointed straight at him. Hey, you! How can you be this drunk during a meeting? Is that what you want? Gragas was startled. Lockheed was also shocked by those words, but Gragas's laughter rang out again. Still clutching his wine bottle, Gragas replied, Don't miss out on the fun. We've been drinking together a lot lately, haven't we? Then, a bolt of magic shattered the wine bottle. Gragas stood there, stunned and angry. The Lord continued, Just this once. I will turn a blind eye to your behavior. Gragas didn't get the point. He gritted his teeth. No matter what you say, my lord, you shouldn't use magic on me. The Lord slammed the table. Now, on to the next issue. Gragas, captain of the security force, are you satisfied with your current wealth? After abusing the power I granted you to extort the merchants you threatened? Gragas stood there, deeply shocked. What did you say? The Lord continued, Because of your greed, the lives of many people in this territory have been ruined. Magic flickered in his palms. They have lost faith in their lord, and their precious assets have been plundered. Illegal taxes, human trafficking, and even training your own private soldiers unlawfully within this territory. Chanting a spell, Cribia transformed the mana into a large fireball. The Lord's eyes were cold and sharp. Your rude behavior ended with shattering that bottle, but these crimes, I will put an end to them, starting with burning your face off cleanly. Gragas's face twisted in disbelief. A chair was kicked over, a powerful light surged forward, and a massive fireball flew toward him, sending Gragas running in terror. but the fireball struck him squarely in the back. Gragas's back was scorched. The Lord stated, "I truly want to kill you, but to uphold the law fairly and strictly. I will settle for this for now. A powerful, new era begins today. Gragas is stripped of his title, and I will thoroughly investigate all corruption in this territory." The faces of the others filled with fear. They all knelt before him. "My lord, please forgive our laziness. We have committed a capital offense." Lockheed looked at the lord with newfound eyes filled with surprise. He thought, he took down Gragas, a master of combat, in a single blow. That is the power of a fourth-tier mage from the Erkon's family. And that presence, it's just like Viscount Bear's. "I appoint you as the new captain of the Cribia security force." Lockheed was stunned. "That is the Lord's command. Do you have any questions?" Lockheed bowed and knelt. "I obey, my lord." The Lord shouted, "That is the command of the Lord. Does anyone have a problem with this?" The crowd shouted, "No!" The Lord breathed a sigh of relief at this. "I've managed to restore a measure of my authority as Lord. The problem is the positions aren't assigned logically. Officials with no political experience are in charge of trade, and someone with a warrior's skills is in charge of agricultural development, skilled in mathematics and adept at negotiation." The Lord glanced at Orin, who gave a gentle smile, and the Lord smiled back. "I'll adjust things slowly. I have my own plans for this." 1 month later, in the territory of Cribia, a voice rang out, "No, please." A man was being beaten and pleaded, "If I don't have that money, then I won't be able to keep my business running, I beg you." Son brandished a knife. "Too noisy. It would have been better if you just handed it over nicely. You're doing something meaningless." Another man remarked, "Gragas hasn't come to collect money lately. Do you think he's off on some tropical vacation?" Son picked up the gold coins, thrilled. "That money, if he isn't coming to take it, we might as well keep it for ourselves." "That's right." A doorbell made them cautious. "You, go outside and check it out." The bald man peeked through the door gap and asked, "Who's there?" Jen waved cheerfully. "Hello." The bald man was confused. "What is this pig doing here?" Jen landed a punch that mangled the man's face. Lockheed's profile appeared. Loyal, peaceful, orderly personality, S-class, C-class justice. The thug was sent flying by the punch. "Lockheed, you fool! How dare you insult our master? You've just committed a crime punishable by death." Jen advised Seti cheerfully, "I don't care about the insult." "Old. But you are the ones illegally collecting taxes from the citizens and merchants." As the bald man lay unconscious, Jen shouted, "Arrest them all and don't let anyone escape." Lockheed, face full of determination, clenched his fist. "I will follow your orders, my lord. Justice will be swiftly served by the new captain of the security force." The crowd stared in amazement. "The new security captain?" One of them tried to sneak out the back door. He crept away cautiously, but the Lord spotted him, opened the door, and said, "Where do you think you're going?" He pointed a finger and channeled magic. A surge of power from his hand sent the thug flying. The citizens cheered, "Long live the Lord! Long live Captain Lockheed!" The beaten thugs were chained up and hauled away. "I've been wondering when those bastards would finally get caught. It finally happened. I'm feeling really good about this." Lockheed squeezed his hand firmly and shouted, "The Lord has admitted his past mistakes, and he has declared that he will care for his citizens with all his might. From now on, cleaning up criminals is just the first step." One thug grumbled, "I can't believe Gragas was arrested." A soldier said, "Keep moving. Don't forget the Lord's kind heart. He is helping his people." One person handed bread to a starving citizen. "This is mercy from the Lord for those who are about to starve." The man reached out. "Thank you, my lord. Be grateful for that day for the rest of your life." An artist on the road to singing, a new sun had risen over the cold land of Cribia, riding in the welcoming and cheering arms of the people. During the meeting, the citizens began to look at the territory and the new lord with positivity. Lockheed was full of enthusiasm, and supporters of the Lord began to appear. The plan was a success. Looking at the documents, he said, "Our efforts have paid off. Lockheed, you're doing well in your new position with your subordinates, aren't you?" He smiled warmly. "That's right, I am doing well. I feel truly happy and grateful for that day. For appointing me to this position." Seeing his stats increase by 1 point, he continued to tell Lockheed, "If you are satisfied, then I am satisfied. I trust that you will oversee public order in the best way possible from now on. A month later, as the criminals in the territory were punished, public order and the people's favor improved significantly. Lakid recruited and assigned many skilled soldiers. Everything was unified under the feudal lord system. All of this happened because I have the Eye of Insight. While he was handling work, Isabella shouted, "Give me back the Eye of Insight!" He glanced over. She was still demanding it back. Oren looked dejected. Crops were growing thanks to new farming methods, but half the year was winter. And there were a few disadvantages, so the results were not. He turned to Avila, who reported the situation. Although we are trying to turn mana stones into a specialty product of the territory, it will take some time to achieve the desired results. He rubbed his belly and looked up at the sky. The Eye of Insight isn't really useful for anything other than identifying talent. I'll have to work harder from now on. Lakid interrupted his thoughts. He's seen this a few times now. But that change seems to be working really well. He smiled happily, looking down at his stomach. This is a popular method I learned from another territory to lose weight. Lakeisha hid her hands. When you lose weight, you look more and more like a proper feudal lord. He laughed heartily. To be honest, this method isn't for dieting. It's actually a trick to boost my mana pool unfairly. After releasing mana from each hand, you release it back into your body and reabsorb it. That's my trick for increasing mana. Even though it's not an official bug from Paradiso, it still counts as one. After doing this for a month, it shows the same results. As if I've increased it 12-fold. He channeled mana into his hand. With this, I can use 4th-tier magic once or twice. A soldier came running urgently and shouted, "Report, my lord! Everyone has returned!" The search party the lord sent out found a bandit camp inside the coal mine. They also found the slaves from a year ago. 2 swords clashed violently. 2 people were dueling with their weapons. The fight took place on the grounds, and a young girl was watching. Both of them were truly skilled with their swords. 2 strangers approached to question her. "Hey, kid, you've been following us for a while, right? You're going to get into trouble if you keep this up. You understand?" She smiled and addressed them as Big Brother and Big Sister. Lone looked at her kindly. "Kid, you'll get scolded by your father if you're caught hanging around here." Lena lifted a bucket of water. "It's fine, because I'm faster than my friends." Lena was truly very strong. On a clear morning, a white butterfly landed on the water bucket. "I can't believe you're only 14. You're going to work as a maid in a noble's villa, right?" A "yes" rang out, and Lena smiled brightly. "I bet it'll be a nice place because father specifically looks after an orphan like me." Lon said, "What a shame. I was considering bringing Lena into my mercenary group." She smiled at them, and both Liam and Lone turned back. "Maybe not now, but a girl like you could become a great swordsman if you work hard, couldn't you?" "Me too. I want to be a swordsman instead of a maid." Liam burst into laughter until he teared up. He drew the sword at his side. "Lena, do you know why? There aren't many women in the mercenary group." He swung his sword hard. "Because the outside world is too dangerous." When faced with such a simple thought, most of them give up or die after facing that reality. She tightened her grip on her skirt. Liam bit off his glove. "But it's the same for men." A hand full of scars appeared. "Your gender isn't what's important. What you need is spirit, will, talent, and effort. But you are more talented than us. That's why you'll do it." Lone patted her head comfortingly. "If you have nowhere to go, just come to us. I will hire you using my authority as the leader." Lena felt somewhat comforted. But then a dark scene appeared. Lena was in pain, shackled and curled up in a dungeon, murmuring and calling for them. Then she burst into tears. The Haze card appeared. S-rank loyalty, unrequited love. The priest led 2 children to Lena and smiled gently. "I have complete faith in you, Lena. You are an angel god sent to our orphanage. That's why I'm asking you to work hard for our orphanage." Lena was very excited and agreed to the task. Yes, Marco wore an evil smile as he revealed the truth. "You didn't know that the priest sold you to us." Hearing those words, Lena couldn't believe it and countered, "No way. That day was supposed to turn me into a servant in a noble family." Marco's group laughed mockingly. "It's not a maid's job, you fool. It's slavery." "Shut up, you idiot!" Someone's hand tightened around the whip as they stepped forward. It made no difference. Whether you were an orphan or a slave, Marco's lackey swung the whip hard against Lena. Even though you should be more obedient since you're a slave, the heavy whip lashed against her repeatedly, causing her to cry out in pain. Lena could only curl up helplessly in agony as she retorted, "No, father wouldn't be like that." And just like that, she was thrown into a cell with the others. It had been a month since I was sold to the slave trader, and most of my time was spent inside this cell. The rest was nothing but torture and punishment. Manny, who was beside her, spoke up and asked, "Are you from Maloka?" She looked up at the sky and muttered, "Then you were destined to be a slave from the very start." "What do you mean by that?" Now Manny truly revealed the hidden truth. "Good Lord, that place gave the order. The priest at your orphanage is on their side too." She glanced over at Lena and sincerely advised, "So just give up." Even knowing the truth, Lena remained determined. "No, I will never give up. I will get out of this place no matter what happens." Manny picked her nose, teasing her on purpose. "What a fool." "A fool? Don't you want to get out of here?" Manny extended her arm and introduced herself. "I've never even thought about that. My name is Manny. Let's just endure this hell together until we die." Hearing those words, Lena backed away in fear. "The way you talk is so discouraging. Take your finger out of your nose." And just like that, the two girls slowly grew closer. Another month passed. Manny and I had quickly become close. There weren't many young slaves here. Besides the two of us in the cell, there were others. The rest acted like soulless dolls. Lena looked at the people locked in cages and pondered. No matter the condition of those slaves, they would still be easily sold off. I don't blame myself for whether I'm lucky or not, but 14-year-old slaves like Manny and me remained safe until we turned 15. Lena declared with a steady gaze, "I will not give up." Time slipped away, and 6 months had passed. I was now used to the backbreaking physical labor. Cribia had become a terrible territory, just like Maloka, while the two of them worked there. They talked to each other a lot. Manny taught me many things about the world that I didn't know. It had become worse because the new lord was young and incompetent, and on top of that, the climate was brutal. Manny looked blank when she heard Lena's question. When I asked where she got that knowledge, she always spoke with an optimistic attitude. "I heard it from the trash. My hearing is pretty good." Like that, while they were working, Manny deliberately cautioned Lena, "There are many monster hunters in Cribia, but not many mercenaries, which is why your brother and sister always talked about not coming here. Thanks for letting me know." Lena looked at the shackles on her wrists, holding on to her resolve. "But I still won't give up?" Manny spat into the pot of food. Then she teased, "This is the first time I've met a slave as stubborn as you." She suddenly looked over, shyly implying, "I actually like that side of you." Winter had begun to set in, and the snow fell thick and fast. Time kept flying, and a year had passed. We were both 15. Manny's body suddenly broke out in a cold sweat. Seeing her like that, Lena felt worried. Her body was heating up. It would be a huge problem if she didn't get better. Marco sat drinking beer and questioning his subordinate. "That arrogant Ragas. That guy always boasted that we just needed to trust him. But has he been caught by that lord?" While he was contemplating, Lena spoke up. "Because of that, I can't sell all the slaves and have to hide in this damn underground cave, sir." Lena pleaded with Marco with desperate eyes. "My friend has a fever. I beg you, give me a bowl of hot soup." She clasped her hands together, begging, "I won't cause any more trouble. And I will do whatever you ask, please. Anything is fine." "Please." Hearing those words, Marco turned to glance at Lena. Her pleading had worked. Manny had a bowl of porridge to eat. Lena was worried for Manny and urged, "Hurry and eat it all before you catch a worse cold." Marco draped his arm over Lena and walked away, despite Manny calling out, "Let her eat alone. Remember that you'll do whatever I want, Lena." Lena tried to smile to reassure Manny. "I'm okay." Marco squeezed her face and reminded her, "That's right. The sick should stay quiet and get some rest." Suddenly, the bowl of porridge flew straight at his face. The porridge burned Marco's face. "It burns!" Manny took this opportunity to grab Lena's hand. Right then, the two of them held hands and ran away, running away from here together. Along the way, Manny kept scolding Lena. "Hey, Lena, what the hell do you think you're doing? Trading yourself for a bowl of soup?" Worried about her, Manny let out a torrent of scolding. "I wouldn't care if others did it." "But you should never have to do that. Didn't you say you weren't a slave?" While they were talking, a hand lunged out. "You said you would get out of here." But, unexpectedly, Lena was caught by Marco. "Don't you dare run!" Marco swung his arm, intending to slash at Manny. Lena was terrified. Manny fell to the ground after being struck. Lena quickly struck Marco's face and shouted, "Let me go!" She hurried over to sit beside Manny, unable to hold back her tears as she scolded him affectionately. "You idiot! Why did you take that hit instead of me?" "My life," Manny whispered to her with his fading strength. "My life has been like a gutter. I grew up around bandits, so I've always seen people getting killed and robbed. That's all I've ever known." "Your life is the complete opposite of mine, Lena. Yet, an orphan like you have such a big dream." "At first I thought it was ridiculous." Manny reached out, wanting to touch Lena's face. "But now I'm envious of you. That's why I wanted to protect you." Before closing his eyes, he whispered one last thing to Lena. "So don't you dare give up." As they were talking, Marco appeared behind them, knife in hand. "I've never given up. It's all right. I'll make it out of this hell." Lena's silhouette caught his eye. "Even if it means I have to." Lena turned back, glaring at Marco with fury. "Kill everyone here." Marco was stunned, stammering at her words. You little—" He pinned Lena to the ground, intending to finish her off. "How dare you look at me with those eyes?" Furious, Marco shrieked about what had just happened. "Because of your friend, I got burned. Now I just want to kill a pest like you." A voice rang out from outside, grabbing his attention. "You think that counts as a burn?" "What?" Suddenly, a massive blast of fire erupted right into Marco's face. Zed had arrived just in time to save Lena. Now that is what you call being burned. Two swordsmen stood outside the cave, talking. "I can't believe they're actually using the Alami mine as a hideout. But how did you know?" Ra looked into the cave and explained. Ragas, who was helping them, suddenly vanished. They must have convinced themselves that the incompetent lord would stop his foolish actions soon, if they just hid long enough. The guard beside him became excited. "Is there any place better to hide than an underground mine at a time like this?" "No, this just makes me think you have a very sharp intuition." A sharp sword was slowly drawn from its sheath. "You're giving me too much credit." Zed turned back and commanded his men. "All troops, follow my orders." He commanded them with a dignified air. "We are here to wipe out these cowardly bandits. They kidnapped our people and sold them into slavery." Every word of Zed's echoed in everyone's ears. "Rescue every victim they've taken and show them what real justice looks like." The soldiers heard his words. Everyone responded with determined eyes. "Wipe out every single criminal." As soon as Zed finished speaking, they rushed in. "Glory to Cribia!" And with that, everyone swarmed into the mine. "Attack! Round everyone up!" One of Marco's underlings quickly rushed to report to him. "We need to tell Boss Jack right now." But before he could report the situation, a blade pierced his back. A man entered with determined eyes and shouted, "No one is getting out of here alive!" Very quickly, Marco's lackeys were taken down by the soldiers. They used all their might to defeat them, and blood-stained swords lay scattered across the ground. Mining tools were still left sitting to the side. Jack's group had arrived before two doors. "I guess this might be normal for me, but this place really has so many twists and turns." Seeing this, he didn't falter and continued to command his men. "The enemy is just a bandit with a weapon. Split up and search every tunnel in here." Marco was still screaming angrily at Lena. "Because of your friend, my face is burned. Now I just want to kill a nuisance like you." Outside, a voice suddenly rang out. "You think that counts as a burn? What?" A bolt of golden light struck Marco's eyes and a massive flame erupted onto his face. Fortunately, Zed had arrived just in time to save them, walking toward Marco step by step. Even though I usually only see these people in games, seeing them in person now, I will set them free. They are truly disgusting. Zed approached to support Lena and checked on her. "Hey, kid, are you all right?" "Yes, I'm fine." But Lena couldn't hold back her tears as she replied, "My friend—" She was in agony mentioning Manny, who had passed away. "He died saving me." Hearing the story, Zed's eyes couldn't hide his resentment. "It's too late. Even with my strongest healing magic." He hugged Lena, trying to comfort her. "Please forgive me. I should have come sooner." Holding her in his arms, Zed felt her fragility, a thin body with hands as rough as tree bark. This poor child has suffered so much. Just then, Jack rushed in and shouted, "What the hell is going on here? Jack was dead drunk when he saw Zed, and he mocked him. "No way, I thought it was someone important." "Turns out it's just a pig of a lord?" Jack kept spouting insults at him. "You should go home and eat more fat, piggy. This is a place of business. Looks like your life is just a complete mess." "You dare insult your lord?" Zed used his power, preparing to strike. "I'll capture you myself. No, I'll kill you." Jack, on the other hand, refused to back down, counterattacking with magic. "I won't die at the hands of a pig like you." Zed heard this and glared at him with icy eyes. Jack met his gaze with the same intensity, attacking first and launching a strike at Zed. "Haste! Fall back!" Zed managed to dodge his mechanical attack just in time. Seeing this, Jack couldn't believe his eyes. "Haste? How the hell can a mage like you use that?" Zed didn't bother arguing, he simply sprinted around him. Jack squinted, trying to track his movements. Haste is a spell that works by accelerating the body. However, it's easily broken because it's hard to control. It makes it difficult for him to change direction. After calculating carefully, Jack continued to build up his power. "In that case, I'll just crush everything in one go." But before he could even attack, a burst of energy struck his blade, followed by all that power slamming into Jack's limbs. Unable to defend himself, he was struck through all 4 limbs. In truth, even Zed was stunned after using that spell. Using high-level magic while drunk will leave your defenses wide open. He slowly walked over to Jack, who was lying on the ground, and spoke up. "You're so weak that my rage has already faded. You need to learn the rules of this world right now." After seeing Zack off, the system chimed to announce that the mission to combat crime was complete, and citizen loyalty had increased by 24 points. The mission to eliminate the underground organization has been completed. Citizen loyalty has increased by 39 points. You have now surpassed 100 loyalty points, and the golden age of the Cribia territory is arriving with the death of Zack. The situation at the mine was quickly sorted out. Everyone had finished their duties to return to the kingdom, and all those involved in the kidnappings or murders were all executed. The group of slaves locked in the basement was also freed, and the rescued slaves would be escorted back to their families by the soldiers, while Lena looked on with a bewildered expression, wondering, "Is it really okay for me to come to your territory?" "My lord," Ra said, looking at her with a steady gaze to remind her, "if you go back to Maloka, I'm afraid that priest at the orphanage will just sell you off again." He kindly explained everything to her once more. "I am looking for talented young people to work for me, and I would be grateful if you came to my territory." Upon hearing that invitation, Lena was incredibly excited. "I guarantee you will be trained to become a great swordsman." "A swordsman? Thank you so very much, my lord." She was so happy that she was waving her hands around wildly. "I will certainly become a swordsman who can meet all your expectations." "Very good," Ra thought to himself while looking at Lena. "I never expected to meet Lena Giselle Alice here." Meeting her brought back memories of his past life. Lena was considered the vanguard of the Demon King's army during the Great War, and from then on, Lena fought with all her might even when players swarmed her like a rain of arrows. She would still just smile. She remained standing and survived every single battle, and she was dubbed the strongest tank. In her past life, no matter what happened to Lena, she still stood tall against every demon, reluctantly leading the final defensive line of the Demon King's army. Any fortress she guarded would be impassable. Ra grabbed Lena's hand to heal her wounds. "This is for the best. I will prevent the possibility of Lena falling into the hands of the Demon King," he pondered while healing her. "I can use her to prepare for the upcoming Great War and also turn her into a star for my territory, not the Demon King's." Her wounds were already fading. At that moment, Ra felt a bit uneasy. "The most troublesome thing is my neighbor Maloka. If the lord there allows illegal slave trading, he surely allows many other activities, other illegal things. If that's the case, my territory could be affected. Because they return to Maloka very quickly, what the hell is Ragas planning to do with that money?" Ragas sat in his chair, smoking mysteriously. "I've heard some stories praising Kribi over the past few days. I'm finding the buzzing of those mosquitoes quite annoying." Fura added from the side, "What do you think about this?" Fura, acting like a friend to Ragas, "Right, I'll personally clean that place up." Ragas wore a sinister, knowing smile. "I will get revenge for my friend." Night had fallen. Everything had become quiet, and the guards were still keeping watch there day and night. Suddenly, a black shadow streaked right over their heads. A figure in a black cloak leaped onto the rooftops. That cloaked figure calmly tossed a bag down. That person stood on the roof looking down, while the space below felt anxious with strange gazes, quietly watching. On this side, John was hard at work training his physical strength. Accompanied by Lena, the two of them ran around the courtyard every day. This is the last lap. Hearing that, John jokingly asked Lena, "Lena, are you doing all right? Don't you feel uncomfortable running like this every morning?" "What? No, I'm fine." It was so cold and stuffy back in the mines. Though tired, John still came over to encourage her to keep building their stamina. "And I will pick a master for you soon." "Thank you, my lord." Hearing the two of them chat, the soldier beside them just stared blankly. "But we shouldn't overwork ourselves." While John was eating, someone approached. A letter from Oren and Avila. Hayes handed the letter to him and replied, "Yes, it was sent over this morning." After reading the letter, John exclaimed, "It looks like good news, my lord." "I'd like to know too." John explained to her, "To put it simply, Oren has successfully created a new breed of plant. It seems Oren has succeeded in cultivating a type of crop. It's called lechila. Most of our food supplies were imported from other territories, but with this, we can cut down on our food costs a bit." Elsewhere, Avila was still searching for mana stones, while Avila was attracting monster hunters. To our territory in numbers 1.5 times higher than before. If I start selling those mana stones, our profits will double compared to last month. After hearing the explanation, Lena gave John some more information, saying that she had once heard that Cribia was falling into ruin, but now that she was here, she thought this place was much more wonderful than what she had heard. John held the letters in his hand. "Now I can confirm we are just starting to get better. Soon, the whole continent will know about Cribia." Just then, the kid suddenly walked in. "My lord." John saw him and wondered, "Lakid, what is it?" "I have an urgent report. It was found this morning." The two of them talked on the way. About that matter. Yes, some have also been found in other places. When John received the information, his brows furrowed in anger. Someone has been doing these things. Leaving their bodies out like that, they were brutally slaughtered right here in our territory. Lakid hung his head in shame. "My apologies, my lord. I am deeply ashamed. I should have paid closer attention to the security of the neighborhood." Jang sat beside the dog's body, trying to reassure him. "Don't blame yourself. The good news is, none of our workers were harmed in this incident. Vibria is a small territory with no walls, making us vulnerable to intruders." As Jang observed the carcass, he pondered. Since the citizen satisfaction was at an all-time high, I'm certain the culprit is an outsider, but what could they possibly gain by doing this? Suddenly, a scream echoed from afar. "Please, help my mother, I beg you." The desperate cry came from outside. "Jiang, if you want, you can sell me for money. Just please, save my mother." Outside, Mia was clinging to a man, pleading. "I don't have the medicine you need, kid. Stop bothering me and get lost." "No, I won't go." Suddenly, someone breathless called out to Mia, "Hey, kid, what's your name?" People couldn't help but whisper at the sight of Zad. "Can you tell me what kind of herb you're looking for?" "It's the Lord. My lord." Mia, eyes brimming with tears, introduced herself. "My name is Mia. My mother has Rhinella disease." Zad fell into a long, heavy silence upon hearing the name of the illness. "Rhinella disease? To make my mother feel better, I need a specific herb, but this man refuses to sell it to me." Frank, trembling, began to justify himself. "I'm innocent. Rhinella disease is practically incurable." Zad began to rethink everything. "So, no merchant would have the herb. I know it can only be cured by the blessing of the Pontifex, or a panacea potion from the Atima Empire. He seems quite knowledgeable about this Rhinella disease. Rhinella is similar to a well-known lung condition, tuberculosis. It gets its name from where it originated, the Rhinella territory, a place filled with underground dungeons, and it's crawling with monsters." Jang leaned down, trying to speak to Mia. "Show me the way to your mother." With a look of absolute confidence, he declared, "I know how to treat Rhinella disease." Mia led Jang straight to her home. "This is my house." She stepped up the stairs and called back, "My mother is on the second floor. The house is old. Will the stairs hold your weight?" Mia rushed into the room where her mother was lying. "Mom! Mom!" She ran to her mother's side, asking anxiously, "Are you okay?" I brought someone who can help us. Mia, you shouldn't have. Mary, her body frail, tried to refuse the examination. Doctor, I don't have the money for treatment. Please forgive me and just turn back. Mary's estimated lifespan was only 7 months. Jang looked at her status and pondered. Only 7 months left. She really is on the verge of death. I don't need any money. So please, rest easy and trust me. Mia, eyes shining, introduced Jang to Mary. Mom, he's not just a doctor, he's the Lord. The Lord is going to save you. Upon hearing this, Mary greeted Zad. It has been a long time, my lord. Mia then explained their past meeting. Yes, the Lord hired me as a cook 8 years ago. Zad shook his head, sighing at his past self. That was when I was still immature. I apologize if I did anything wrong to you back then. Mary quickly explained. You shouldn't be near me, my lord. You might get infected with this terrible disease. Don't say that. I'll be fine. Mary turned to Mia. Mia, could you bring a wet towel for Mom? Yes. Jang turned his head, glancing suspiciously to the side, then walked over to open the window next to Mary's room. Looking out the window, Jang saw the monster that had been slaughtered on the ground. Mary, do you often encounter monsters? How did you know? After hearing that, Mary explained, That's right. I used to be a cook for a high-level exploration team, specializing in selling monster carcasses. Hearing this, Zad understood the whole situation. One wouldn't catch Rhinella disease just by being around an infected person. However, those who frequently handle monster carcasses can easily be infected, but the symptoms don't show until the disease is far advanced. Just then, Hayes and Jen arrived in front of Mary's room with supplies. My lord, I've brought all the herbs you requested. What did I tell you, Mary? Zad now seemed to brim with strength, confidently asserting, Believe in me. I am not leaving here until your condition improves. So, entrust the treatment to me. Seeing his determination, Mary couldn't hide her emotion. Thank you, my lord. I don't know how to ever repay you. While Zad was talking, the two behind them were busy preparing the supplies. Think about that after you've recovered. Everything here was being watched by Thop from the roof. You think you'll come up with a new treatment for this disease? How meaningless. Just then, the figure of Locket appeared right behind him. I disagree. My lord has never failed at anything. Hearing the voice, Thop turned his head to look. Look, just as my lord predicted, the culprit has returned to the scene of the crime. Locket's eyes burned as he spat out each word. The culprit who dumped the carcasses. All over our territory. It was you, wasn't it? Thop didn't flinch, instead challenging him back. Why are you so eager to find that out? Lakid stared at the person before him and spoke. I disagree. My lord has never failed us. He glared at Thop in front of him. He continued, Look, just as the Lord predicted, the culprit has returned to the crime scene. The culprit who dumped carcasses all over our territory. It's you, right? Lakid demanded, his voice low and harsh. Why are you so eager to find that out? Thop hesitantly asked in a questioning tone. Ash, Roniola, and Neko. These 3 herbs are so easy to find. I can't believe they can actually treat the disease. Roniola can't be cured with just these, he added. Hayes muttered to himself while grinding the herbs, the medicine pot bubbling away on the spirit lamp. He realized that the truth was, back when he played Paradise, he had come across a post on the Paradise homepage about the formula to cure Roniola from one of the alchemists. After being unable to win an argument against the other alchemists, he had posted it on the website like this. This is so frustrating, I can't stand this anymore. I'm going to upload the formula to treat Roniola. Because of that, he was able to create a remedy that wasn't supposed to be released to the community for another 15 years. Mary lay in bed. Hearing Jack tell that story, she whispered, Lord Jack? He replied, You can speak. Mary asked in a curious voice, I was just wondering why a high-ranking noble like you would take care of a poor commoner like me. Jack didn't turn around, simply saying, Someone who has endured pain will understand the pain of others. Hearing this, everyone around them was stunned, asking in confusion, No way. Could it be that you, my lord, once suffered from Roniola? He calmly answered Mia and Rona's doubts. No. I grew up healthy, thanks to the love my family gave me, but my mother didn't just share that love with me alone. He took Mary's hand and continued, "It's all true. My family was poor, and my mother couldn't go to the hospital for checkups. The last time we went, she had already lost the use of her hands. She was in the final stages of cancer." Jack recounted, "I felt more anger than sadness. Why was there no way to change such a common situation before it was too late? Even though it all happened 15 years ago, I still blame myself for it." Jack emerged from his painful memories, gently shaking the medicine bottle in his hand, and continued, "I am here because I understand how my mother felt. I don't want this child to feel the pain I went through. I don't want her to go through the feeling of losing her mother." At that same time, Lakid and Thop were having a fierce battle on the rooftop of a house in town. Both were constantly unleashing powerful attacks at each other. Lakid furrowed his brows, serious in every move, while Thop showed no signs of wavering, swinging his sword like a dance. Their blades clashed. A loud, sharp metallic clang rang out, sparks flying with every strike. Lakid had a momentary lapse in concentration, and his opponent's sword tip nearly grazed his face. He quickly regained his focus, using his blade to parry. He lashed out with a powerful strike, and Thop hastily used his sword to block. His hands trembled as he tried to steady himself. Thinking, "He's trying to overwhelm me with brute force, I'll aim for his weak point," he thought to himself and quickly changed his stance. Thop swung his arm powerfully. Telling himself, "I'll drive him away with a kick," he lunged straight at Lakid's face. Lakid glanced at him with an astonished expression. Thop held his position, thinking in surprise. He didn't even try to dodge it. Then he heard him whisper suspiciously, "Is that all you've got?" Immediately, a sword slash tore through the air. Lakid angrily swung his sword repeatedly, shouting, "How dare you oppose Kribia with your pitifully poor skills?" The speed and power of his movements terrified Thop. He quickly raised his weapon to block. Lakid flicked his wrist, sending Thop flying into the air. He panicked, thinking, "He's stronger than I thought. They didn't tell me our head of security was this strong. How the hell is he this strong?" Thop didn't know that the reason Lakid could be so proficient in a one-on-one fight and still control the assassin was due to his special ability. Discipline and justice helped him push past his limits and enhanced his body whenever he stood against evil. Meanwhile, Thop had already been identified as a villain. Lakid looked at his opponent, who was gradually exhausted and kneeling before him, and said in a confident tone, "Just surrender quietly. You will never be able to defeat me." "You'll never be able to beat Lakid," Thop replied quite unexpectedly. "Head of security, I intended to kill you if I was discovered, but I'll give up on that for now." He added, "I'll be going now." He turned around as he spoke, intending to leave, making Lakid roar in anger. "Do you think I'll let you go?" Thop took off his mask and chuckled. "Ha ha, don't be so impatient. We'll meet again soon. We can go all out then." He left those final words behind, threw down a smoke bomb, and disappeared amidst incessant laughter. Lakid exclaimed in frustration, "Damn it, where did this fog come from?" When the smoke cleared, there was no trace of the intruder left. Only Lakid remained, standing alone on the rooftop, muttering, "He's gone." 2 days later, Mia was sitting in the study with Jack. Amidst the shimmering magic, he called out, "Look at this, Mia. This is created by gathering mana using basic binding methods." Jack waved his hand, and beautiful glowing lights appeared. He waved his other hand, creating a mysterious blue mist. He continued to explain, "This was created by gathering mana using forced binding methods." Mia asked him, "Master, I have a question. If both are used to cast magic, would it be okay if I only practiced one method?" Jack answered the young girl, "People usually think like you. However, evil mages often corrupt the mana in the surrounding environment. If that happens, a mage who only uses the basic binding method won't be able to cast their spells." Jack gripped his hand, speaking loudly in his unique mage attire. Mia gasped, exclaiming in wonder, "Oh my God, a mage not being able to use magic, that's truly terrifying." Jack replied to the young girl, "So, even though it's difficult, you must also practice the forced binding method." Mia seemed to have grasped the point, replying, "Yes, master, I understand. But what is this strange outfit you're wearing?" Mia pointed at the blue robe and white fake beard, asking curiously. John took them off while smiling warmly. "Isn't that strange, Mia? I was just trying to look like a teacher. It's all just magic when you wear it." "It doesn't look like anything at all," Mia concluded, leaving John flustered as he replied, You're certainly blunt, kid. Just then, there was a knock at the door. Knock, knock, and a voice called out from outside. "Excuse me, my lord, it's time for breakfast." Hearing that, Mia hurriedly cheered, "Ah, it's breakfast time." She then scurried off like a little mouse, causing John to call out in confusion, "Wait a minute, your lesson isn't over yet." Mary entered the study and asked, "My lord, have I come to disturb you?" He smiled and replied, "No, not at all. Besides, I'm curious about the meal you've prepared." Chef Mary stepped closer to him and said happily, "I hope the food will be to your liking." John left the study with her, saying, "Mary, you should get more rest before you start working again." She replied, "I am grateful for your concern, my lord. And my health has improved significantly. As for breakfast, I've prepared a special meal for your diet, featuring your favorite beefsteak." He didn't know that, as he stepped out of the room, a ghostly head with blood-red eyes had appeared in his room. It grinned, revealing sharp fangs, and whispered, "Gian, just as I expected, you are different." In the dim room, sparkling lights flickered, representing a miraculous kind of magic. People are always searching for shortcuts, some kind of training method to boost their mana. They try to raise it by 2 or 3 points, but it's all ineffective. Gian mused to himself while staring into the empty space. Where 2 lines of text appeared, "You have succeeded. In creating a new training method, please enter an official name for this method." He sighed. What truly sets the few apart is how they turn a shortcut into their own main path. This mana manipulation training method. This is a blend of the flawed training method and the mage's mana training technique. He raised his hand, typing out a name while pondering it. Because this training method will be the first step I take in this world, it would be great to think of a fitting name, wouldn't it? The one who benefits is the one who uses every shortcut. Just then, the ghost head suddenly appeared again, laughing excitedly. "I've looked through the secret training methods of many mages, but yours has an interesting twist." John was startled and looked up to ask the ghost lady, "Can you see the flaws in this method?" She immediately replied, "Oh, I certainly can. An ordinary person wouldn't be able to spot it. You could say you're cheating, since you're so good at forcing raw mana into your body in such an unnatural way. You," the ghost lady pointed her sharp fingernail at John, "you're not from these lands, are you?" The ghost suddenly appeared right behind Gian, whispering into his ear, which made him jump in surprise. It stuck out its long tongue and giggled. "What are you talking about?" John stared silently at the ghost lady. Receiving no answer, she continued rambling on. "I was just wondering if you were really from another continent. Rumors say you came from the eastern continent, and you're truly skilled at manipulating mana." Hearing that, John let out a sigh of relief. He had been worried and startled, thinking the ghost had discovered he was from another world. He quickly changed the subject. Now that you mention it, I just remembered a story from my ancestors' time. Back in their era, there was a legend that said something similar to that. The Eastern expansion is being developed. It was going to be an ambitious project over 5 years. I died before that expansion was even released, even though I was really looking forward to experiencing it. John looked down at his hands, lost in thought. The ghost lady's voice cut through his musings. "I wonder, what are you thinking about? So many interesting things have happened since I started following you, so I'm very curious about you." She clung to him excitedly, making Gian ask in surprise, "Is that so? I think we should spend some time talking to each other. After all, you're the only one who can see me." She continued to laugh loudly at John. At the same time, the ghost lady used her sharp nail to pry open John's right eye, whispering, "That's my eye. Don't worry. You can keep it. Consider it a wedding gift." "From my future husband." Her tone, both excited and shy, stunned John. "What?" The ghost lady continued to act coy, saying, "I didn't really like your chubby body at first. But now that you've lost weight, I like you. Is that why you were always staring at me while you slept?" John grabbed his own shoulders and shuddered, asking back, "For a talented man like you, it's not a problem for me. You died as a virgin ghost, so being your partner..." She hugged his shoulders excitedly. "And you gave me my first kiss, remember?" John felt he couldn't take it anymore. Panic-stricken, he ran away, leaving behind a hasty sentence. I have to go to the Ranella territory. It would be better if I went there." While the ghost lady called out after him, "Wait for me, my love. Lena's achievements are developing faster than I thought. It's astonishing that you could recognize the potential of each child." In just such a short blink of an eye, I think that in just one more month, I won't have anything left to teach Lena. Hayes said in a cheerful tone while reading the letter in her hand, Lord Lockheed has sent a letter. John sat opposite her and replied, his voice filled with admiration. It will probably take until the end of this month for that little girl to become the strongest person in Cribia. Hayes noted with curiosity that Hung is truly a child with great potential. Jen didn't answer right away, then ordered to tell Lockheed that he would find a good teacher for the kid. Hayes agreed. Jang looked out of the carriage window, thinking to himself that he had already come up with a few candidates for the job. Just then, the carriage suddenly stopped, and the window next to Hayes shattered into pieces. Jang raised his hand to cast a spell amidst the panicked, stammering calls of the young lord. She looked at the broken arrow in her hand, confused, and said, Wait, is this an ambush? Protect the lord! Arrows came flying in from everywhere, whistling as if tearing through the sky. Standing up, he said, Looks like a bandit attack, trying to catch me with arrows like this? What a mistake! Lord Hayes, standing nearby, screamed in terror. She immediately lunged forward to shield the door with her body, shouting, I will protect you! Leaving Hayes just as panicked. Calling her name loudly, Hayes hurried to stop her. What are you doing? It's too dangerous. What if you get hit and die? Hayes was trembling violently but still tried to act calm, telling him, But it's my duty to protect the Lord. I'm a maid, after all. Use whatever means you want. Try your best, he ordered Hayes. Don't you dare move again. Stay inside. If you even stick your hand outside, I'll punish you. She flusteredly agreed. Yes, my lord. Arrows continued to rain down on them relentlessly. Jiang, furious, opened the carriage door and roared, You bastards! You dare shoot arrows at me? Get out here now! The witch following him let out a wicked laugh and asked, Want me to help? Jiang quickly refused, replying, No, I've got this. He waved his hand, creating a massive protective glass barrier. He placed his hand on the shield, observing the group firing arrows at them from afar. In the distance were countless men in black, their faces covered by masks. One man said to the person next to him, Leader, it's a mage. The other replied to the masked man, Just as predicted, there's a mage escort. That's why the guy in the mask hired us. The one who spoke was the commander of this group. Hired to kill the mage, he was known as O.C., a one-eyed man with bulging muscles, carrying a massive, razor-sharp axe. They had no idea that their entire conversation was being heard by Jiang. Listening in, he thought to himself, A mask. It sounds like they're talking about the man Lockheed mentioned earlier. I can hear them. Right then, Ok charged forward, holding a staff in one hand and his axe in the other. He said with disdain, All mages are useless trash. I'll make an example of you for my rookies. He gritted his teeth. Immediately, Ok and Jiang clashed in a fiery battle. Oaks lunged forward. Jiang had been waiting right in front of him all along. O.C. swung his axe with all his might, and Jiang immediately used his magic to block it. O.C. didn't stop using his raw strength, continuing to taunt him, Your skills are nothing but useless parlor tricks. Jiang wasn't shaken by his attacks. O.C. suddenly felt that the person in front of him wasn't simple at all, and he instinctively hesitated, slowing his pace. Jiang bowed his head. An invisible shield had already been formed above him. He smirked and replied to Ok, Oh, ho, so the title Mage Killer is just for show then? Os was startled by Jiang's calm demeanor. Jiang proved he wasn't easy to deal with. His moves were precise and swift. O.C. watched and silently assessed him. His spellcasting speed is too fast. At least a level 4 mage or higher. If I stop, he'll counterattack. I can't give him any time to attack or defend. Jiang's soldiers and O.C.'s underlings were intently watching the fierce fight. The masked men were even gleefully asking each other, "Ha, how about that? How are you going to end this?" Meanwhile, Jiang's men were a bit worried for him, watching the battle with bated breath. "I'll drain your mana until it's completely dry," Ok shouted, but it didn't last 2 seconds. His staff was held fast. O.C. stammered in confusion, "My staff!" Jiang said nonchalantly, "Looking closely, it's an artifact created with magic, but it doesn't contain a shred of mana." Effortlessly, Jiang grabbed the staff as lightly as a feather, leaving Ok trembling and confused, asking, You caught it?" Jiang stepped forward, gripping the weapon tightly. He calmly said, "I'll be taking this." The man felt the power emanating from his own shaking staff and thought in a panic, "This mage? Is he even really a mage? A moment later, a calm voice rang out from Jiang. Your brute strength has been paralyzed by my magic. He spoke to the man in front of him. By the time Ok realized it, he was completely frozen. Jiang said with a hint of regret, although I'd like to know information about the masked man. You'll never reveal it, right? Ok replied, trembling. No, wait. If you spare my life, I'll tell you everything about the client. Hearing this, he laughed out loud, raised the axe, and replied, Is that so? I'd love to hear it, but... As the axe blade came down, Jiang said coldly, I don't trust the word of a criminal. Athena sat in a closed room that looked like a cupboard. He said nonchalantly, Merchants cannot buy luck. That's an old proverb that has never been wrong. I haven't been very lucky either. Aki, you were so foolish to hire a cheap escort. And they were all killed by that guy Ok. He continued to lament. Athena watched through the iron bars, hearing the fragmented conversation. Someone asked, The medicine merchant? The other replied, That's right, because he's very good. He has many bodyguards. O.C. stood tall, his body as sturdy as a tree. He replied casually, Is that so? But in front of the axe of Ok here, they're just like pigs waiting to be slaughtered. You should prepare the money. Ok held out his hand to take the money. The man who hired him, Thop, just handed it over. The money pouch just said to Ok, 2/3 of the remaining pay will be yours once the job is finished. Lord Cribia has already cured everyone suffering from the illness in his territory. That means the ingredients to make the medicine are easy to find, too. Thop thought to himself, basically the medicine could be mass-produced with ease, so it was inevitable that he would come to Jonella to turn a profit. The two of them laid an ambush behind a mountain. O.C. looked off into the distance and asked Thop, Are they really going to come through this path? He replied to him, That's right. My subordinate's intel is completely reliable. Agnes peered out while listening to them talk, whispering softly to herself, This terrifying murderer has already killed 11 people this week alone. He kills people like it's an everyday occurrence. Isn't there some hot, handsome guy coming to catch this scum? That was a story from the past. Back in the present, we see Zed powerfully taking down Og. As he said, I don't trust the words of criminals. Panicked screams could be heard outside. It caught Athena's attention. Leader, it's a failure. Should we kill him? The scene now showed Zed hovering in midair, using his magic to wipe out the rest of the gang. Athena watched the spectacle. Her heart pounded with excitement, her eyes sparkling as she thought, That person has actually appeared. This hero is the one who saved me. I truly thank you for rescuing me. Athena hugged Zed, acting incredibly grateful, saying thanks was all well and good. Zed replied, But could you step back a little? Oh, I'm just a bit overly excited. Athena blushed and hurriedly stepped away from Zed's body. You said you were on your way to trade goods when you ran into O.C. and got robbed? Zed continued to ask the stranger he had just saved. Yes, he replied. Zed then said in a low voice, I apologize for the lack of security in this area. Usually, no one passes through here, so Athena happily responded, It's all right, sir. If I hadn't met you, I probably would have died at their hands. It turned out that Athena was the top NPC of the Eastern region, a person who had purchased an entire kingdom thanks to their success, relying on their ability to predict and analyze market trends. He was always ahead of the curve and owned the trendiest products. Merchants would gradually develop by following in his footsteps. Zed looked at the person in front of him. Confused, he thought. Athena is already around my territory at this point? How on earth did a big shot from the eastern continent end up at this northern border? He pondered for a moment and then made an offer. Losing all your assets must be difficult for you mentally, but even so, I have a proposal. A proposal? Athena asked him, confused. I will give you 15% of the profits if you help me sell the goods I intend to sell to Ranella, Zed told him. Athena bowed his head, hummed, and thought to himself, completely unaware. Zed, on the other side, was also deep in thought. He was one of the best, so first he should make the deal with him, increase their rapport, and finally recruit him to his side. After a moment, Athena held up 2 fingers toward Zed and said, Instead of sharing the profits, listen to my 2 requests. Requests? Zed asked, surprised. Athena continued, If you trust and entrust this to me, I will fulfill your wishes. Zed looked helpless and agreed. All right then. But I also have the right to refuse depending on the circumstances, right? Athena cleared his throat and replied confidently, "If my intuition is correct, you'll listen to my ideas. My first request is, call me Aki." "I'll tell you the rest later," Athena replied. Zed felt this request wasn't too unreasonable, so he agreed with a simple fine, while secretly wondering to himself, "Is this kid a boy?" Meanwhile, the ghost woman behind his back had already started cursing, her body twisting. The carriage with Zed, Athena, and Hayes slowly entered the territory of Ronella. Hayes exclaimed, "I thought Ronella would be very gloomy, but it's brighter than I imagined." "A lot of people think the same, but humanity doesn't give up. The expensive items obtained from the dungeon." Zed stepped forward and explained to Hayes with a friendly smile, "As long as the disease problem is solved, this land has great potential." "In terms of future development," he continued. Hayes also understood the issue and replied to Athena, "So that's how it is." The three of them went together to a bustling, crowded market. Zed turned to praise Athena. "Thanks to you, we found a good business location." "That's just what I should do to repay you. Actually, I think I'm still lacking in many ways," Athena replied to him, laughing happily and shyly. Zed led him near a large wooden barrel that looked from afar like a cask of aged wine. Athena immediately asked him in surprise, "Is that the medicine for the Ronella disease that you intend to sell?" "My lord, not yet," Zed replied. A bit of the medicine was poured out, flowing into a glass bottle like delicious syrup. Immediately, a line of text appeared in the space. "Rare herbal medicine crafting completed. Proficiency has increased to level 2. The maximum proficiency points for 1 day have been reached. In 24 hours, they will reset. No more proficiency points will be received." Zed looked at the lines in front of him and calculated, "So the limit has been triggered. At first, when I didn't know about these system bugs, it took me months to gain more proficiency points." He took the small bottle of medicine, handed it to Athena, and said, "Here, you just need to sell this. When you sell it, be sure to introduce it to the customers." Athena immediately found his first customer, Tolun, a man who had contracted the Ronella disease. His symptoms were gradually getting worse. As he covered his mouth to cough, he wheezed and asked him, "Are you really planning to sell that potion for 1 gold coin?" "Only for you, sir. I'm giving you this special favor because I can see you're a good man." Athena's replied with a friendly look, but he couldn't help but wonder, is this guy a scammer? I kept looking back at Athena's in confusion, but he just winked playfully at the guy and said softly, "Have you ever seen me lie to you, sir?" I hesitated for a long moment before deciding to buy the potion. He dropped a gold coin into Athena's hand and said, "All right then. Since I'm dying anyway, 1 gold coin doesn't mean much to me. Thanks for the purchase. Now just sign the contract and we're all set." Athena's happily picked up the contract and handed it to Tolan, who looked surprised and asked, "A contract for a potion?" "This transfers the ownership of the healing potion to Tolan," he explained. Tolan read through the contract, looking puzzled. "That sounds a bit strange," he replied. Even so, he immediately opened the bottle and drank it. Zan stood nearby and gently explained to Tolan, "It will take about 30 minutes to feel the effects of the potion. I'll be staying right here, so please rest and come back later." Tolan muttered to himself in confusion. "Even though I trusted Zan's word and bought the medicine, what if it's a scam?" Zan smiled kindly at him. "If that happens, I'll compensate you with 1,000 gold coins." Hearing that, Tolan agreed and left shortly after. Athens looked at Zan and Hayes, who were struggling to carry the crates, and waved at them. "So, before we start official sales, I'm going to take a walk around here. I need to craft some new medicine," Zan said as he poured out a bottle of potion. Notifications immediately popped up. "Herb crafting complete, proficiency increased by 3 points. Daily proficiency limit reached. Cannot receive any more proficiency points for 24 hours. It's working. Aesthetic crafter bug. Herb crafting proficiency will increase based on the results obtained. Some strong potions will limit the additional proficiency gained within 24 hours. But what if ownership is transferred to someone else? Then all information, excluding the proficiency data, in my logs will be transferred. That means I can bypass the 24-hour limit." Time passed by very quickly. Soon, 2 hours had passed. Hayes spoke up to Zan. "Zan, you're late." "They'll be here soon," Zan replied, and just then, a series of sounds erupted, startling the two of them. "The Lord is here!" A whole crowd of people from nowhere came rushing toward them. Hayes looked on in horror and said to Zan, "Look over there, are they coming for us?" She squinted at the crowd ahead and exclaimed, "Isn't that Zan and our first customer?" Good heavens! The crowd swarmed toward Hayes and Zan, shouting in a frantic tone, "The potion! Sell me the potion, hurry! Hey, get out of the way, I'm buying it before this idiot." "I was here first." "No, I'm buying it first." They bickered loudly, leaving Hayes astonished. Why exactly was this healing potion developed in the territory? Cribia is truly blessed by the gods. The Lord will surely protect Cribia, some of them exclaimed. Things have gotten better there lately. I heard the lord of that place has finally cleaned up that mess. It seems that fat guy has finally come to his senses. Hearing that sensitive term, Zan's face darkened, and he thought to himself, "Fatso, time to get out of here. The healing potions will only be sold today. From now on, if you want healing potions, you'll have to come to the Cribia territory." Hayes, acting as if the crowd wasn't excited enough, continued to shout out the sales pitch. There are very few hunters who go to Cribia's nightmare forest, and there are still plenty of monsters around that area. That's an ideal place for hunters, isn't it? If you buy this potion in Cribia, it'll be cheaper, only 39 gold coins. You all know that the same potion sold in the Ottoman Empire costs 100 gold coins, right? But here, it's not even half the price. Athenes continued to talk while Zan and Hayes were swamped with work. "Since there are so many people wanting to buy the potion, please line up to make your purchases." He held up a bottle of potion, happily speaking to the frantic crowd, who were holding up their bags of gold, desperate to buy this magical medicine being offered. In the quiet night, the first snowflakes began to fall, and Hayes had already drifted off to sleep. Zan sat there, fiddling with a coin. The daily profit from selling the potions was 1,250 gold coins. He squeezed the coin tightly in his hand. If converted to Korean currency, that would be around 12.2 billion won. Zan flipped the coin and muttered, "Just as I expected. Monster hunters are very rich." Athenes caught his coin and asked, "Are you satisfied with the profit, my lord?" Zan frowned and asked, "Is there a reason you aren't in your room sleeping?" He winked and gave a playful smile. "I came to collect the rest, my lord." Zan relaxed his expression as he remembered. "The payment, right?" "Ah, there was one more request, wasn't there? Go ahead, tell me." Athenes placed a hand on his chest and said, "My lord," he earnestly expressed his request, "I wish to become your retainer and run a merchant guild under your direct supervision." "My lord," Zan stood up and repeated Athenes' words, "a retainer?" He knelt down and sincerely expressed, "That's right. Even though I have little experience, please trust me. I will build it into the most powerful merchant guild in the north." Athenes reached out with the coin and continued, "You're a brave one, stepping up to help someone who's lost everything." He looks down, lets out a laugh, and replies, "To be honest, I've had my eye on your talents for a while. I want you to be my personal aide, but reaching the top of the strongest merchant guild in the north isn't going to be easy, especially in a place like Cribia." You bow your head, accepting his instruction. "I understand, sir." Jen takes the coin from Athenes' hand and asks, "All right, is this what you really want?" You look up with a bright, eager smile. "Yes, sir." He leans down, placing a hand on your shoulder. "That ambition for the top spot says a lot about your potential to grow here in Cribia. And the actions you're taking right now, they prove you have the guts to back it up. Besides, I'm still short a few aides by my side. Are you happy with that?" "Aki will be my first aide." Marines stands up and replies clearly, "I will do my very best. Thank you, sir." Jen turns away, waving a hand to signal them. "All right, we should get some rest. We head back to the territory tomorrow." He walks out onto the balcony, gazing into the distance. "Finally, our frozen lands." Jen looks up at the moon and mutters to himself. Spring winds are finally starting to blow, and everything has gone incredibly smoothly. Thanks to a game glitch, my herb crafting skill hit level 35, and by exploiting those bugs, I've also managed to gain level 30 in equipment crafting, and created an automated machine using intermediate magic. Because of that, business is booming. The automated device was built using 5,000 gold and 10 mana stones. From Cribia, this thing can produce 24 healing potions every day. At 39 gold per bottle, that's a profit of about 900 gold a day. Avila's work has gotten much easier too. We're the only ones in our territory with these healing potions. Hunters are constantly heading to the Nightmare Forest to slay monsters, which means monostone production is up and our casualties are dropping. Jen's hands weave a mystical spell, and he speaks up. Who am I, really? A flame flares up suddenly, leaving the other party stunned. He glances over and continues. You are the one who will become the protagonist of this world. Everything falls into silence, the fire still crackling intensely. Delac begins to lose his composure. I'll ask a different question. His anger peaking, he speaks in a low, gravelly voice. Where did you come from? And how were you able to bypass the magic? And the traps to get in here? Sensing the danger, he leaps backward, his mind racing. A mage who used forbidden magic, trading away their humanity, just to gain eternal power and ability. Since they don't have a normal physical body, they're forced to use a form of remote-controlled magic. Kept inside a vessel overflowing with life force, Dilac's soul was bound to a human corpse by a goddess and forced into submission. Now he's weakened and unable to resurrect. If he dies, everything becomes clear. Ra carefully charges in. Just keep the distance and be careful not to let the black magic drain your life force. Not to be outdone, a brilliant purple magical aura begins to erupt from the old man. Both of them clash like starving tigers. Facing such powerful magic, he briefly recalls his past encounters with Dilac, time after time. Without wasting a second, Jen unleashes a counterattack. A powerful blast of mana hits the old man square on, showing no mercy after easily suppressing him. The old man scoffs at the pathetic magic, yet his power doesn't wane. It only grows more violent. Even with all his skill, Dilac takes a direct hit. The old man looks annoyed, staring daggers at him. Delac sneers arrogantly. Spamming attacks? What a waste of mana. It looks like high-level magic, but it's actually just third tier. Realizing something is off, the old man starts checking his own body, his mind racing. The eternal flame exists within me. It's burning, spreading to every single bone. Could it be? A shock hits Dilac's existence. He realizes that the ring worn on the opponent's finger is the stolen ring of Saintus Ivanos. The old man screams in disbelief. No way! You found my treasury? His expression shifts. Dilac finally decides to show his cards. He gives a twisted laugh. How strange. I honestly don't know who you are, but I don't have time to waste. Ra asks back in confusion. Why? Aren't I your junior? You should give your senior a warmer welcome, shouldn't you? His hands erupt in intense flames as he charges forward. The clash is swift, and the old man takes the full brunt of it. As he runs off, he doesn't forget to turn back and give a provocative smirk. The strategy to stop Dilac from attacking is to keep the pressure on, then hold a defensive stance. Jen says excitedly, even without landing a critical hit on Dilac, if I keep this up, I'll win. Seeing him take the upper hand, the old man looks off into the distance, filled with suspicion. He thinks to himself, his every move, it's as if he knows everything. Dilac roars in frustration. But this is my territory. He begins summoning monsters to rise up. My warriors, someone has invaded the Lord's domain. What are you standing there for? Kill him! Hearing the order, the monsters rush forward aggressively. He feels the danger mounting, and Isabella immediately appears to warn Jen. The undead are appearing. He breaks into a cold sweat and replies, I know. Starting to panic, Jen falls into deep thought. These undead were supposed to come out of the traps, not like this. Did things change because he was resurrected? Looking as if he wants to tear him apart, the old man says angrily, Thanks for helping me remember the sensation, the pain of the fire. The holy fire has been extinguished, so I will now face you with my full, serious power. Lightning fast, Jen moves in, bypassing the monsters. He heads straight for the target, calculating his next move before making it. I have to stop him before he finishes casting that high-level spell. Seeing their prey, the monsters started swarming toward him, but Isabella blocked their path. She shouted, Leave the Andre to me! Isabella immediately possessed one of the monsters, merging her soul with its body. Seeing their comrade standing still, the others stared in confusion, witnessing the successful spirit possession. Isabella snapped her head back, her eyes glowing red. It sent a chill down the spines of the other Andre. She swung her blade, cutting everything down while muttering to herself, I don't really care for your look, but you've got a pretty sturdy body. Seizing the chance, Jack closed in on the Lich. Realizing the little pest was disrupting his plans, the Lich grew annoyed, especially when Jack screamed and launched an attack. What kind of demon dares to interfere in my fight? After taking a painful hit, Isabella cried out in agony. Everything was going according to plan. Jack cheered, "Nice work, Isabella." He lunged forward, swiping away the powerful lightning bolts and burying them into his opponent. The sudden, devastating counterattack left the Lich convulsing, followed by a chain-linked lightning spell. Delac immediately blocked it, snarling, "There won't be a second time." Just as it seemed to stop, a beam of light began to shimmer from ahead. The Lich froze in shock as he saw two distinct streams of light. They began to converge. Dilac's eyes widened in disbelief as he asked, "You can combine two spells?" Jack confidently flaunted his achievement. "This is a fusion magic I've been researching." "Feels like a trip to hell, doesn't it?" Without wasting another second, he gripped his staff and unleashed his trump card. Just because there was a first time doesn't mean there won't be a second. Hit by the blast, Delac let out a piercing shriek and collapsed. His body was now falling apart, leaving nothing but the tattered remains of a loser after a fierce battle. Delac slumped down like a well-behaved puppy. Isabella cheered excitedly, "Did we win, Jack? We actually defeated the Lich, Delac. It's all thanks to you, my dear husband." Ignoring her triumph, Jack approached the Lich with lingering suspicion. He reached out to check the motionless body. Whoosh! Delac, filled with rage, lunged forward. "Die!" A wasted move. Jack swung his sword directly at him with such force that a large chunk of the skeletal skull shattered. Jack grinned deviously. "I knew you wouldn't die that easily, Delac." It turned out he had activated his mind-reading eyes long ago. Before the Lich could recover, he stood frozen, and Jack struck him with a ruthless, fatal blow. Delac trembled, filled with agony and fear. Am I really going to die like this? This is the first time I've felt the fear of death since I became a Lich. My instincts are screaming at me to avoid this human's attacks. But I can't, because of the seal." Another thought flashed through his mind. "Die? Fear? Don't make me laugh." Regaining his resolve, the Lich became even more aggressive. His aura overwhelmed Jack's magic. "I am the Lich Delac, the great mage who will rule over death and spread disaster," he boasted, radiating pure murderous intent. He began beckoning his prey. "Shall we continue this fight?" The young mage said nothing. Jack's sharp gaze toward his opponent spoke louder than words. An explosion occurred in the blink of an eye. Delac's eyes lit up instantly. A wave of darkness rushed toward Jack. Jack struggled to put up a defensive shield. Is that his magic? You can't even call that magic anymore. Suddenly, an unexpected attack shattered his shield. The Lich's eyes flared, and he fired dark arrows toward him. "Die!" Jack braced himself as the arrows flew in. But Isabella quickly swung her arm, blocking the attack. Jack's resilience made Delac even angrier, his brow furrowing. "You're getting in my way again." He then summoned a giant hand. The darkness pierced through her body. "Get lost, you wench!" Having lost her physical form, Isabella could only struggle toward him. "I'm sorry. That's all I could do to help. Can we really kill that monster?" Despite everything, Jack smiled confidently. "I told you, didn't I? Delac can never defeat me." He rushed forward, thinking to himself that although this was the first time he'd seen this specific attack, he was a little rattled. But overall, the pattern of his attacks remained the same. A confident smile bloomed on his lips. "I know everything about Delac because I hold the most information on Paradiseo." As he lunged to counter and dodge, the Lich summoned countless hands from behind. The Lich's eyes shone brightly as a hand descended from above. It crashed down. Bug is as nimble as you usually end up crushed just like this. Jack stopped right as the hand slammed down. It was the trick to defeating him. Delac even praised him. "You stopped just in time." Facing him, Jack smiled back. "If what I know about you is true, then defeating you is just an easy challenge." His provocation only excited the Lich further. "How suspicious! Are you really that certain you can defeat me?" Before the Lich could react, Jack appeared right in front of him. "That's right." Delac looked on in shock as the magic staff was pointed directly at him. "Level 4 magic, then." Jack said, "You were using low-level magic to trick me from the very start." He smiled and added, "I told you I was definitely going to kill you." He tightened his grip on the chains in his hand, 100% confident. A stream of light bound the Lich's body, amplifying the holy magic under divine power. The Lich could only scream in agony. "That's why it's easiest to attack those without a physical form like you. You just have to aim for where the voice comes from." Jack then offered his final farewell to the Lich. "Feel the blessing of the Lord with your entire body." As he finished, he unleashed holy power from his hands, amplifying the light element and instantly engulfing the lich's body in divine radiance. A blinding light erupted and then slowly faded, leaving only a few dying embers in the air. Jack looked at the remaining fragments and spoke to him. "Dilak, the demon king you're waiting for isn't coming, just give up." Even as he was reduced to dust, the lich still tried to speak. "You're the one who should give up? Do you have any idea what the future of a brat? Like you will be?" Only half the mask remained. The old man stubbornly spat out, "Do you really think you can overcome this?" But Jack didn't seem to care at all about what he was saying. "You've still got a long way to go, even you. You could be considered a level 9 mage, while I've only reached level 4. Hearing that made Dilak snap, and he questioned him furiously. "You knew all of this, yet you still came here just to throw your life away? What on earth is going through your head?" With total confidence, he tilted his head and replied, "Because I am the strongest lord on this continent." The old man fell silent for a moment, but then laughed out loud as if he had just heard a joke. "Haha, are you kidding me? Are you drunk or something? You're trying to achieve something that even the lord of gods and demons couldn't do?" Then the old man spoke his final words before vanishing. "Interesting. Truly interesting. I'll be watching you from hell. When that time comes, you'll see who the real fool is." Isabella understood what he meant and cast a sideways glance at him. It was a terrifying thought, but then she saw him stretch his body out in a relaxed, cheerful way. "Finally, he's gone." Her heart was filled with constant worry. "There are so many people in this world stronger than you, yet you don't seem to care at all. It's like you already know that you're going to climb to the very top of the continent." Jang's eyes were locked onto the ring in front of him. "I came here for this ring. But it looks like it's even better than I thought." True to it being an artifact, he held it to his chest like a treasure. "Right now, there's no artifact better than you. It's so good to have you here." She was the only one who noticed. "What's that?" Isabella called out to him with interest. "Jiang, there's a book here." He asked with curiosity, "What kind of book?" She tilted her head and looked at the book in his hand, answering, "It looks like an item Dilak left behind when he died." Jiang held the book in his hands, wondering, "I don't remember any books dropping when Dilak died." Reading the ancient text on the book only made him more curious. "The resurrection secret of the lich, Dilak?" Isabella's voice chimed in as he confirmed the contents. "The person resurrected will have a binding connection. Master and slave. The resurrected one cannot refuse orders from the one who casts the spell. If you refuse an order, you won't die, but your soul will vanish." She frowned and patted the book. "What is this? This is even worse than being a slave." Then, as if she couldn't take it anymore and was about to snap, "This isn't the kind of master-slave connection I wanted, damn it!" "What exactly are you making me do for you?" Jiang immediately gave her the first example. "Start by tying me up." She blushed, both embarrassed and intrigued. "What?" He didn't stop there. He gave an even bolder example. "You will use a curse spell and make me endure it." That made Isabella practically explode, and she covered her face. "Do you have such weird hobbies?" Then he concluded with something that left her stunned. "We'll repeat it to increase my endurance and magic resistance." Normally, this method would require a high-level mage. It would be incredibly expensive, but since it's you, I get it for free. Her eyes said it all. This is the first time I've discovered such a bizarre hobby in a man. Not knowing what she was going to say, he just gave a sheepish laugh. "Aha, don't look at me like that." She crossed her arms and asked, "Is that it?" He smiled with certainty and replied, "I'll think of other purposes slowly." Left with no choice, she eventually agreed to his words. "I accept. Besides, I'm sick of living as a demon anyway." Then he suddenly turned and headed in a different direction. "I found a body for your resurrection over there. Let's go." Isabella, flustered, hurried to follow him. "Right now?" "Wait, I'm not mentally prepared yet." A while later, he was panting as he walked. "Isabella, why exactly?" He glanced helplessly at the person on his back. "Why do I have to carry you like this?" She had no other choice but to reply, "I'm still having trouble adapting to this new body." "And I told you, stop calling me Isabella." Hearing that, he blew up in frustration. "Why do you hate that name so much? And you said you lost your memories from when you were alive, too." She wasn't about to back down and shouted back, "I don't know, I just don't like it, it's too cold here, hurry up." She still couldn't help but complain about the old man. Dilak had all these perverted fantasies about humans, but it's really awful that this human Doesn't even let me wear proper clothes. Jang could only sigh helplessly. It's a good thing her stats are still the same. Even her personality traits haven't changed. Then he asked, "How can I make you more approachable?" The two of them then passed through a dark tunnel. Isabella looked around with curiosity. There are so many corpses here. He was used to this sort of thing, so he answered nonchalantly, "Well, this place is full of traps after all. Since they've been neutralized, we can head back with ease." She listened and seemed lost in thought, but she didn't say anything else. She recalled the sight of that body in a laboratory test tube. "So, you're wondering how this woman died? Is that what this is about?" Even so, he couldn't give her an answer. "Let's see. Honestly, I don't know either." That caught Isabella by surprise. "Oh, so there are actually things you don't know?" Looking at the body she was about to possess, she felt a glimmer of hope. She hoped she wouldn't turn into an evil spirit. "I'm already tired of being a demon. Even though I don't have feelings, I still feel cold and lonely," as if she had just realized something, making Isabella jump up and ask, "Hey, if I could live a wonderful life in this body, would that girl be grateful to me?" Then, even more excited, she clung to his back. "So, I'm going to eat lots of delicious food, dress up beautifully, and live happily." Only he couldn't understand why. "Why would you do that?" She tilted her head curiously and asked, "Because being by your side would be very interesting, wouldn't it?" He didn't deny it and replied gently, "At the very least, you won't be bored. I mean, sometimes it can get a bit dangerous." Hearing that, Isabella felt at ease and closed her eyes on his back. "It's fine." Zen also felt happier and replied, "I'm also glad to have a new companion." Isabella happily rested for a moment on Zen's back. Batman looked grim. He could barely accept that the number of monster hunters was continuing to drop. His subordinate explained, "Yes, well, anyway, because the Ronella cure is only sold in Cribia, the hunters are all heading there." At that, Batman immediately flew into a rage. "So that's why you used a huge amount of money to hire experts to copy that medicine?" He didn't dare face him and replied, "Yes, however, Cribia is also preventing the cure from leaking out. Even though we managed to find a few samples. But it's far too little to figure out the formula." He pointed right at his face and yelled, "You spent the money, so get it done." "What are you still standing there for?" He was immediately thrown out. "Get out of my sight, get lost." At this moment, he still sneered at Zen. That brat hasn't experienced the real world yet, so he doesn't know how terrifying this world can be. Batman gritted his teeth and declared, "I will make you taste the terror of this world." Right now, Maloka Hoggs is living the good life. He asked, "If a war broke out now, how many people would be strong enough to defeat the enemy?" His subordinate reported the situation. "There are 1,239 elite soldiers ready to sacrifice their lives for you." He stroked his chin, calculating for a moment, "But we are still missing one trump card, aren't we? So, a level 4 mage." He asked further, "He isn't the stupid pig he used to be. If I had foreseen this, I would have ordered Gregas to poison him sooner. So what happened to Gregas? The assassin from Proga already took him out." Suddenly someone appeared. "Hoggs, the Supreme Lord of Maloka, you have finally returned." Aaron greeted him warmly. "My mage, Aaron, has there been anything unusual during my absence?" He then introduced, "These are the mages I brought back for a large sum as you ordered, my lord." Hogwarts replied with satisfaction, "It's fine. Money is no object." Then he stepped forward to probe, "So what level mages are you?" "I am a level 3 mage." Aaron, standing next to him, made a suggestion, "If we strike now, then they will disappear from the map in just one day." Hogwarts' expression shifted with interest. "I like hearing things like that." The cliffside echoed with the sound. "My lord, I heard you will establish formal diplomatic relations with the surrounding territories. But isn't this the northern forest?" The caravan moved noisily. "Which territory are we arriving at?" The relationship between us, Ronella, and Maloka, the two closest territories, is often fraught with conflict. Zen and Avila discussed, "We are here to build relations. With the tribes, not a single tribal territory. Do you mean there are elves here too?" Ra, leading the way, replied, "We will know soon enough." Suddenly, shadows appeared by the cliff. Avila heard a noise and reacted immediately. What was that sound? The goblins rushed out in droves. Red goblins! The current situation made Orin exclaim, I thought we were the only ones out here in the far north, but I never expected to find red goblins here too. By now, the goblins had blocked both sides of the road. We are completely surrounded. The bald guy nearby ordered, "Why are you all just standing there, huh? Protect the Lord at once." Understood. The kid turned serious and announced, "Everyone into defensive formation. Do not attack until ordered." The soldiers immediately became restless. Avila secretly observed and realized this was a goblin defensive formation. Could it be? Suddenly, a massive goblin appeared. "Humans, welcome to our territory." He introduced himself. "I am Ivaniba, leader of the Red Goblin Tribe." Chief Ivaniba of the Red Goblin Tribe? Oren thought, quite suspiciously, a red goblin that can speak the language of the southern continent. Zad stepped forward to greet them. "It is a pleasure to meet you all. I am Zad, the Lord from the Cribia territory." Ivaniba replied, "So you are Zad. You seem better than I imagined. What did you come to see us about?" After hearing his proposal about establishing formal diplomatic relations. "We want to trade the territory's resources for gold and iron." He laughed loudly and exclaimed, "This is the first time in my life I have met someone like you." Once he received the agreement. Then, he ordered, "Bring it here." Even Avila couldn't help but look on, completely stunned and unable to believe her eyes. Jen smiled as he probed, "Nightmare stones? Are you satisfied with this quantity, sir? You're a bit nervous knowing these were just scattered around the nightmare forest, aren't you, my lord?" The owner whispered quietly to himself, watching intently. "Those rocks are completely worthless. Nightmare stones are just stones with pretty shapes that hunters usually pick up as souvenirs when visiting the nightmare forest. Bringing over such worthless rocks for a trade is nothing short of a provocation." Ivaniba held the stones and replied, "That's right. There are plenty of these in the nightmare forest." He suddenly frowned and asked, "You wouldn't normally care about these, so why bring them for a trade?" The situation made the others nervous. "Things are getting serious," they whispered. Suddenly, his attitude shifted, and he warmly praised, "You must have gone through a lot of trouble for this." "Excellent." With that, the two gladly began their collaboration. "Thank you, Lord Gen. You are the one who has brought us these nightmare stones, the most important items to our people." Finally, the two signed a pact. "We shall become allies." Jen didn't forget to offer a compliment to foster goodwill. "Leader of the Red Goblins, you are a wise man. I hope our friendship continues to grow in the future." His words clearly pleased Ivaniba. "I think so too." He happily gave the order, "Bring the iron and gold here at once." The Red Goblins eagerly hauled over large sacks filled with gold and iron. Ivaniba examined each stone and marveled, "I never expected to see stones this big and beautiful. Just thinking about polishing them already makes my heart pound." But one person had other thoughts, knowing the goblins had mines to produce such quantities. A calculating look appeared in his eyes. "It would be much easier to just drive them out and take the land for myself." Meanwhile, Ivaniba was enjoying the moment. "Since this is such a major trade, we can't just let you leave like this. We must hold a feast today." With that, he shouted an order. "You all don't need to guard me in the shadows anymore. Come out." A group of powerful goblins quietly emerged. The bald man frowned, wary of the dark elves. Why are those warmongers here? It was only then that he realized. So, the Lord knew about this all along. Time spent silently observing his expression. The Red Goblins occupy the northern territory of the continent, and it seemed they had ceased all communication with the outside world. Because it had been so long, they hadn't appeared before humans in ages. To explain a bit about these goblins, they have such a close relationship with the Dark Elves that they've signed a mutual defense treaty. Big news spread quickly. Not only that, there were rumors that Ivaniba was a cunning man who had established relationships with various races through his intelligence and clever actions. Ivaniba had built many connections. It might be different from human culture, but everyone was encouraged to relax and enjoy the feast. If anyone is foolish enough to attack the Red Goblins, they'll end up dead without a trace. By the flickering campfire, Avila happily remarked, "For the goblins, nightmare stones are more important than gold. Where on earth do you get all this knowledge, my lord?" The feast between humans and monsters went smoothly. and they even held some strength-testing games. Jen suddenly called out, "Lockheed, come here!" Lockheed leaned in close and replied, "Yes, my lord?" The two whispered to each other, "Are the forges in the territory running well? Due to the lack of materials, we can only try to maintain our current equipment. We can't produce new weapons." Jen then ordered, "Use the iron we traded from the Red Goblins today. Have them forge swords, spears, armor, and arrowheads. Once you receive the order, do not let a single bit go to waste." Lockheed bowed and replied, "I understand, my lord." He continued to give instructions. "And in the future, half of the gold received from trading with the Red Goblins will be invested back into the military. Handle the recruitment on my behalf." Just then, Ivaniba spoke up from the side. "Are you preparing for war with Maloka?" He asserted confidently, "There is only one reason you would suddenly trade for resources like this. It's war." He didn't forget to add, "That is a wise choice. Maloka has become a den for criminals. If you leave them be, your territory will inevitably suffer the negative consequences." Jen replied with a hint of concern, "I apologize if you feel uncomfortable, but this trade was to help Cribia prepare for the upcoming conflict." The other man waved it off. No, it's fine. I only say that because I like you more than I like most people." Ivaniba patted him on the shoulder, reassuring him. "After all, gold and iron are worthless to us. I hate those creatures, so of course I truly support you." Suddenly, he shouted a proclamation. "For Lord Cribia, our new ally!" Everyone joined in and raised their glasses. Jack participated happily, but his mind was already elsewhere. At a mansion on the Nas continent, March 14th, 1414. 4 weeks had passed since Isabel was reborn. Jack introduced her. "This is my friend from the Imperial Academy, Desmond." What a lie, Isabel thought, smiling as she greeted him. "I look forward to our time together, Hayes." She was adapting to life here faster than he had expected. She was even learning to use spider magic, a hallucination spell that forced its victims to constantly see terrifying things. She had been helping him every day so he could increase his resistance stats. She made a bored face as she heard him sighing. "What kind of demon spider is this big? So boring. Honestly, it's just a spider. Do you really have to make such a scene? Thanks to that, my magic resistance went up by 34 points. Looking suspiciously at the candies, "What even is this?" Isabella asks, "Why are you suddenly giving me candy? Do you want me to eat this stuff?" Jen explains shyly, "Well, just think of it as a commemorative gift. Today is the day men usually give candy to women." She still doesn't understand. Wait, I don't remember today being any special day. Only he knows in the East, today is a commemorative day. In Korea, today is White Day. Hearing the explanation, usually 1 month before February 14th, women give chocolate to men, and today is March 14th. Men return the favor by giving candy to women. She blushes and probes, "Oh, sounds romantic. Do you like me?" He stammers through the harsh truth, No. Every woman in this building got some, Unfazed, Isabella opens the candy wrapper with disappointment. "Funny enough," she says while eating the candy, "so you mean you've been training and adjusting your diet according to your own plan?" Suddenly, they both end up in a situation where she says, "Did you forget, Jen? The relationship between us is a deeply bonded one. We sealed an eternal contract with a kiss, didn't we? Hey, that wasn't a marriage certificate or anything like that." Startled, he touches her lips to remind her, "Stop joking around." After calming down, he makes a request. "My magic resistance has increased significantly now. So, could you help me double my magic power as well?" Isabella nods in agreement. "Sure, I'll use plenty of magic power." Then she smirks triumphantly. "More than enough to satisfy your desires," leaving Jen horrified. What the? Wait, the current situation just makes her more smug. What reason would Jammed have to stop? Sounds that could be easily misunderstood keep echoing in the room. Then a notification arrives. "Congratulations. You have met the requirements to promote to a level 5 mage. A plan has been laid out, the training plan. It's a plan to seek out people with potential in the future and bring them to your side before anyone else does." Jen sits in his study. He has invested heavily in this plan. There are many reasons why he focused on this plan. Besides training talent, which helped him gain much more, there's the disciple system. This helps us earn bonus points based on the growth of our students. Maximum of 4 people. Oh, it's been accepted again. Inside that, Isabella is the one showing the best results. Students, you say? Haven't you already turned me into a slave? Lena is always eager to follow orders. She is always loyal to the missions assigned. Will you become my master? I will try my best. And Mia is happy to learn. Mia treats it more like entertainment than training. The way you teach me is amazing. Jad sits in deep thought for a moment. All plans are going smoothly, especially the growth of the students under Jad's name. At least that's what Jad believes. But then his expression changes. However, Master Hayes keeps shaking her head in refusal. I can't. How could a maid like me teach anyone? A strange condition has appeared. Even so, she always desires. But I also want to train hard to become the best doctor. Hayes's progress is at 0%. She pours all her strength into casting the spell. This class is especially effective in healing. Compared to other professors, it's considered a high-tier class across the entire continent. Jen closes his eyes tightly, thinking. It must be that way. Finally, he can't help but get angry. Why do you have to keep acting like a maid? I'm sorry, nothing is progressing in the room. Ra lifts a teacup and analyzes. To awaken the power of a healer, Hayes needs to feel it with her whole body and heart. The owner calmly replies, I have walked the path of a servant for 23 years. It won't be easy. He bows his head in agreement. That's right. It's like something inside is holding her back. Hayes's potential, it's like she is defending herself against something. Or perhaps she's just worried about becoming a healer. He frowns in confusion. I must have a good strategy for this. But how? The owner's eyes also become pensive, then he speaks up. My lord? He expresses his thoughts. You have taught us innovative and diverse methods. Everyone in the territory is grateful to you. He thinks of Hayes and reassures, but that doesn't mean you have to be responsible for everything. Please trust Hayes. That she is trying her best for your sake. Words that make Jen realize, after all, she is your person. He smiles and replies, so that's it. Saying that, he throws the door open. Thank you. As he runs off, Jen thinks, that's right. He is very excited as he realizes, I don't know why. But I have to talk to Hayes. It's not exactly a trick, but a plan with the three of them. While he is lost in thought, someone appears behind him. I must use a proper method. Hayes rushed over to call for the Lord, but only found him lying there unconscious. She asked in a panic, what happened here? The soldiers reported, the Lord was attacked by an assassin. The situation left Hayes horrified. I've called for the professors, but his condition is critical. What do I do? He needs treatment immediately. Looking at his condition, she realized it wasn't enough. It would be too late by the time the professors arrived. Even though she was terrified, she told herself, I have to do it. She stepped forward. My lord, please, hang in there. Hayes wiped away her tears and tried to use her healing magic. Please. She couldn't hold back her emotions. Please, I beg you. Memories flashed through her mind. I can't let him leave like this. I swore to protect the Lord for the rest of my life. Suddenly, a bright light flared up and enveloped the Lord's body. 30 minutes later, Hayes scolded them angrily. I hate you all! She cried loudly, showing her deep concern. Even if it was for the sake of the gods, so what? Why would you let yourself get hurt like that again? Jack tried to reassure her. That was just animal blood. The rest were only minor wounds, but we succeeded, didn't we? Besides, how does it feel to be a healer again? But Hayes immediately retorted, It's horrible. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. She also scolded the assassins and soldiers severely. And you all, even if it was the Lord's order, you still shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry. With that, she stomped off in a huff. I don't want to see you sick or hurt, and yet I hate you. After Hayes left, Zed appeared and spoke up. Even if you say that, you didn't have to go that far. The plan is going smoothly. Explaining the master's perks. Permanent increase of 50 magic power stats. Student Isabella has mastered Dark Object Summoning Magic. The reward is all stats plus 5. Student Mia has mastered Mana Sensing. The reward is all stats plus 5. Student Lena has mastered Basic Swordsmanship. The reward is all stats plus 5. I'm not sure about being a good master for Hayes. The number 5 represents the 5th rank breakthrough. Special quest Leap has been activated. You must complete all tasks to reach rank 5. Special quest Leap 1 out of 3 completed. Reward rank 5 Mage. You must find the Wanderer and the VH Witch to ask about their path to becoming a rank 5 Mage. Finally, I can become a rank 5 mage. Someone was blowing smoke. If a war breaks out with Cribia, we will win decisively. Fira analyzed calmly. But if Zed dies from the very beginning, then a war won't even be necessary. What war? It's all just for money. Then he gave the order. Infiltrate Cribia and keep an eye on him. If there's a chance, strike. Yes. As Thop saw Zed running past, he thought, I've been waiting for this chance for a long time. He prepared to pull out his knife. Die, Zed. But he didn't expect to witness the scene that just played out. Die. He hid to one side and watched. This is too sudden. Hurry up and call Lady Hayes. Thop's face was full of confusion, wondering, he's running away. Wait, apart from me, who else wants to assassinate Zed? Assassination mission. Zed failed. Who is that? In a place full of wind and snow, Lakis traveled alone in the harsh weather when suddenly a voice called out, Oh my! Who is here? In the distance, Austin appeared under the light. Is that you, kid? After a while, they both reached a warmer place. Thanks, Austin, Lakis reminisced. It's been a long time. You look more mature now. Lakis, I'm 40 years old this year. The old man sat down and made a cup of tea by the fireplace, wondering, why did you venture so deep into the forest of nightmares? Lakis searched his bag and replied, I just missed my senior, so I came to visit with a small gift. He then brought out a red bottle. Ranella healing potion. If you live in the forest of nightmares this long, wouldn't this be very necessary? Austin narrowed his eyes and asked, The Ranella healing potion from the rumors? He asked with a bit of suspicion after hearing the recent rumors. Then I have to wonder if this is the same Lord I once knew. Lakis explained, Lord Zed has admitted his past mistakes. He asked me to meet you to give you this healing potion. Suddenly, the old man laughed mockingly. You think things that people have thrown away like trash can be brought back? So easily. Lakis tried to persuade him, but just then, the territory needs the help of veterans like you. Hearing this, Austin looked a bit annoyed. You will surely change your mind once you meet the Lord. Let's go. The image of the Grim Reaper with a scythe traveling across the continent. Never before had there been a period where expeditions were as intense as the current era on the Nas continent. Countless lives have vanished across the continent, and with that, the heads of lords have been rolling on the ground, one after another. Jen appeared, human morality, all cannot escape death. A proof to be afraid, to tremble. The Grim Reaper will ride his horse to the ends of the northern continent. The glass was slammed down, Jen praised happily. As expected, the Cribia lager is also excellent. Lager beer is fermented at low temperatures, and there's plenty of other food too. Besides, for a coastal region, the food should be expensive, but it's actually dirt cheap. Isabella rests her chin on her hand, analyzing the situation. Frankly speaking, it's hard for the agriculture here to really take off. Both of them share a cunning smile. That's right. Let's just hope the pesticide I made actually works. Hayes, standing beside them, stammers, If it's a remedy created by the Lord, then it's bound to be effective, right? Is that so? Suddenly, she looks around and realizes, hey, has everyone noticed? This place is kept so tidy, and the service is quite good. Look at the people around us, see? It seems like Gribia is really cleaning up its own territory, huh? The people living here are singing their Lord's praises, all because he's giving this land such a bright future. They're all nothing but compliments. If you catch the Ranella disease, there's a cure, and the Lord will support you as much as he can. We should contribute to the development, too, later on. Of Gribia, that is. This makes the two girls beam with pride. So, how can we manage to move the Hunter Guild headquarters here? Isabella asks with a sidelong glance. We did come here in secret to check out the village after all. Seeing Zen doesn't respond, she asks, Hey, Zen, where are you staring at? At the next table, someone praises, Man, this beer is delicious. The girl excitedly calls out, Owner, one more glass, please. Then she turns to the person beside her. Do you want another round? The beer here is so crisp and refreshing. Zen instantly recognizes that person as Ella, a rather eccentric prosecutor. As far as he knows from the main story of Paradise, she's a famous prosecutor known for making a fortune by helping heroes out when they're in a pinch. The girl next to her refuses. No way. Alcohol numbs the nerves and makes you feel unnecessarily hyped up. Ella pokes her cheek, teasing, You're so stubborn. Later on, if you ever fall for some guy, you'll have to drink a glass then, too. However, Ella has one specific trait. Today, I'll be appearing as an adversary. Her weakness is that as long as there's money involved, she'd help even the devil himself. Ella's eyes brighten as she scans the room. I've seen that girl somewhere before. The other girl is Chloe, the master of absolute invisibility with A-rank camouflage skills. All you have to do is find someone who doesn't know how to drink. The Queen of Silence, right? She's showing up here too, huh? According to the plot, 5 years after the crushing defeat, Chloe appears as the Queen of Grey Elvis at the age of 58. She's a mysterious character lurking behind the main story of the major patch. Zen is a bit surprised to meet them here. To his recollection, there was no record of Ella coming to the north, and Chloe hadn't made any moves yet. To think he'd run into such important figures. If that's the case, then His face instantly changes. He can't hold it back anymore. "Talent searching radar! Activate!" the Lord exclaims as he runs off in excitement. "You two, stay here and have a good time." A call draws Ella's attention. "Hey, over there!" Before Zen can finish his sentence, he's cut off by Ella's dismissive remark. "Do I look like I care about bratty kids like you? Get lost." The shock sends him flying. Lord Hayes runs over saying, "Hey, I apologize on their behalf." She frowns, making a demand. "This person is the Lord of Gribia and my lord as well, so please show some respect." Unfortunately, everyone has already heard, and they go silent. People start whispering, "Lord Zen, in a place like this?" As the murmurs spread, suddenly a dark figure stands up. One look and you know she's just a maid. "Aren't you scared?" Hayes feels a bit intimidated, but Ella glares back. "I've got my own business to attend to. Do you think that in this world, the only lord around is yours?" Suddenly, there's a call. "Ella." Even though it's their first time meeting, Zen pulls himself together and makes a request. "Can I ask you for a favor?" There will definitely be a worthy reward. Only then does she realize, replying, "A first meeting, huh? I'm quite surprised myself. Sorry for the sensitive reaction. I thought you were just bothering me." He looks around, signaling that it's all right. First, we should change locations. In the office, Ella makes an offer, 5,000 gold coins a year, plus a private house, if I agree to train those kids, that is. Zen replies, extremely satisfied, "Yes, I'll pay the reward in advance, and of course we'll sign a contract." Chloe turns to answer, "I will do as the master wishes. No matter the place, it makes no difference to me. As long as it's where humans live." The situation catches Ella by surprise. "Zen, do you really trust me? Chloe just became a student, and this is my first time in the north. You don't know anything about us, right?" Zen asserts seriously, "No. Right now, I don't trust you at all." He then relaxes his facial muscles and replies, "I just have complete trust in the fact that you'll work once you get paid." Finally, a knowing smile. As long as there's money, everything can be solved. She couldn't possibly refuse a sum of nearly 5 billion won. He remembered a future plot point. Because of this personality trait, no faction could ever. Welcoming her, he didn't expect Ella to agree. "I'm more than willing," she said, taking off her glasses with a look of pure delight. "That's the most charming thing I've ever heard." "I accept the terms," she said, then asked with a hint of curiosity, "Where's the person the Lord invested 5,000 gold coins in anyway?" That evening at the mansion, Lena's mana issue was resolved. A blue stone was proof. If it were before, Jad would be exhausted and fast asleep by now. Thanks to the great sage Goga's necklace, he didn't feel tired at all. A hand kept writing. The knowledge and information within Paradise are vast, easily forgotten, but there was something strange. Just today, Jad had already forgotten Chloe's face. In reality, he had already planned for the future. In the future, as the territory grows, there will come a time when it's hard to pull off miracles this easily. As dark forces slowly devour everything, Jen wants to record everything in Korean to ensure no one else can read it. Finished, he closed the book containing the world's knowledge. Everything is neatly recorded in Paradise. Lena gritted her teeth, struggling to drag the log out. Standing far away, observing and silently critiquing, this is truly hellish training. He imagined Lena with bulging muscles. Are they trying to turn her into a muscle monster with this kind of workout? Ra tilted his head and muttered, "Even with the same intensity, how is Chloe not breaking a sweat?" He watched Chloe struggling to pull the log, and seeing her get ahead, Lena shouted, "Wait for me!" Ella stood next to Jack, smiling as she said, "Of course. This world is vast, and it's not just about Lena." She shook her head in dissatisfaction and continued, "I guarantee that those who trained Lena only ever tested her at a normal level before this." She said, "I could kill those people in 5 seconds." Jen heard this and sighed. 5 seconds is a bit. By now, Lena had moved on to a different exercise. Ella watched her and then recounted, "Lena never had a good teacher before. The reason she could develop like this is thanks to that magic artifact." Lena stood in the middle of an arena surrounded by 4 devices. One activated, flashing red light, and a fireball shot out. Ella explained, "The 4 elemental spells will be fired one by one from that artifact." Following the indicated direction, Lena raised her shield to block the fireball. Ella continued, "She's being trained on how to use the shield." She wondered, "How on earth did you get your hands on that magic artifact?" "To train Lena, of course," Jad replied. "This is the training method of the Eastern continent." He thought of the familiar saying, watching Lena continuously block the elemental attacks. Then he pondered, if you repeat the same attribute, the proficiency gains diminish over time. Ra watched her trying to finish the exercise, whispering his assessment. However, with 4 or more attributes, the system registers it as a match. He figured it was a way to cheat the system's mechanics. Jen frowned, looking at Ella, truly surprised. Just by looking, she could assess Lena's condition. He looked toward Lena, who was gritting her teeth while training, and thought, "I don't need to worry about training Lena anymore." In a field, farmers were diligently watering and fertilizing. One farmer called out, "Lord Oren, we're glad you're here." Another farmer greeted, "Lord Oren." Oren stepped forward and asked, "I'm here to check on how the agriculture is doing." Seeing the plants growing well, he said, "I suppose I don't need to ask. Since the pests have been eradicated, everyone finally has peace of mind." A farmer boasted, "A friend of the god at Ronella says they can't farm because of the pests and wants the god to teach them our secret." He continued, "Every day we thank the Lord and Lord Oren." Someone shouted, "Oh, the 2 saints!" Oren smiled happily. "All the farms we've acquired. As of today, all praise the Lord. I truly don't know how happy I should be. Thank you. Thank you all." The farmers laughed joyfully. Some were moved to tears, covering their faces. "Lord Oren," Ra, sitting in his office, suddenly froze. He looked up at the snow-covered street. The system appeared. "The farmers of the territory have gathered to praise the Lord's grace. You have completed the Wholehearted Devotion quest. The territory's loyalty has increased by 50. Loyalty has reached 200. The Golden Age has arrived in the territory. During the Golden Age, the production capacity of all citizens in the territory will increase by 100% for 1 month." The citizens celebrating in the square shouted in unison, "Long live the Lord! Long live the Lord!" In the warehouse, Hayes and Avila were sorting goods. She directed the helpers, "Put it here," and Avila diligently took notes. At the training ground, Chloe and Lena were training like crazy. Jen saw the notification and shouted, "All right, the Golden Age is back." In the castle hallway, Aaron exclaimed, "Father, I heard that Cribia is doing very well lately." Waving his cane, he added, "Even the scenery in the north is wonderful." Upon entering Jad's office, he immediately bowed. "It is an honor to meet you, my lord." He raised his head and introduced himself. "I am Aaron from Malacco. I have come to deliver a message to the Lord." The system appeared. "Experimental Chaos, Path B, Desire." Jad silently stared at the quest board. Dragon vs. Tiger had been activated. "Your opponent is also a level 4 mage like you. If you eliminate him, you will gain 15 additional intelligence points." Ra stood up to welcome Aaron warmly. "Welcome, glad you're here. The ambassador has come to visit us. Is he satisfied with our tribute?" Aaron replied immediately. "Of course, he is very satisfied. He said he wishes for peace between Malacco and Cribia, and he highly regards your determination." Jad pursed his lips, forcing a smile. Jad questioned him angrily to himself. "Highly regards me? What are you bragging about? Do you think your position is higher than mine?" Law Kid frowned, watching Aaron ramble on. "It's fortunate you are satisfied." The soldiers escorting Aaron gave a mocking smile. Jan asked, "So, may I read the letter?" Aaron took out the letter and said, "Right. This letter was handwritten by the Lord himself." Jan took the letter, opened it, and began to read. "Greetings, Lord John," the letter started. "Looking at our current relationship, I cannot help but feel ashamed for my past actions when I criticized Lord Zed and the territory of Cribia. Every single day I reflect upon my own shortcomings. I deeply desire lasting peace between our two territories, and I pray that nothing will ever change that. Let us strengthen the ties between our lands. Let this mark the beginning of an eternal friendship between our people." Jan thought angrily. "Huh, you brat! Who do you think you are?" He then muttered in annoyance, "I am the one who wants peace more than anyone." He continued, "Sooner or later, I will send Maloka a handcrafted statue from Cribia. I hope it will serve as a symbol of the friendship between our two territories." Aaron smiled and said, "I am not entirely sure, but I think the Lord will be very pleased." Jan tilted his head and smiled, replying, "We will always welcome everyone with open arms."